Chapter 1146. Let's go! Wolf King shouted. Today, no matter what, they must find Dongqing and get rid of her. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble. On the following journey, the 2 men and 1 wolf did not delay at all. Even if they encountered towns and villages that were massacred, they did not stop at all. At noon, they finally arrived at the royal city in the land of ruins. However, the originally bustling royal city was dead silent at this moment. Millions of corpses were lying in the city. Blood dyed the land within a radius of hundreds of miles. In the void, a bloody mist filled the air, and the smell of blood was pungent. And the way they died was the same as the people in other places. Their throats were cut. Those pairs of eyes were wide open, full of fear and despair. "You animals, get out of here!" Yan Wei roared. There were many people who had died in his hands, but he had never tortured anyone like Dongqing. Qin Feiyong and Wolf King's eyes were gloomy to the extreme. They stood at a commanding height and had a panoramic view of the entire royal city, but except for the corpses on the ground, they did not see anyone else. There was no trace of Dongqing and the man in white. Qin Feiyong looked down at Wolf King and asked, "Are you sure they came to the royal city?" "I'm sure." Wolf King nodded. Qin Feiyong glanced at the royal city and said gloomily, "Then they must be hiding somewhere?" While speaking, with a thought, Lu Hong and the others appeared one after another. Looking at the bloody purgatory-like scene in front of them, everyone's face could not help but turn pale. Qin Feiyong shouted, "Find them, even if you turn the land of ruins upside down, find them for me." "Understood." Lu Hong nodded. Everyone immediately scattered in all directions. But suddenly, Qin Feiyong seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly said, "Wait." "What?" Everyone stopped and looked back at him suspiciously. "Dongqing hates me to the bone. If she is really hiding in the dark, she will definitely not let you go. Viper and Dan Wangkai stay here, the rest go to the castle." Qin Feiyong said. "All right." Lu Hong, Fatso, and the double-winged snow eagle looked at each other and returned to Qin Feiyong helplessly. Although they all wanted to help, they had no choice. Qin Feiyong was telling the truth. Once they split up and were ambushed by Dongqing, given their cultivation bases, they would be dead for sure. Death was not a big deal. What worried him the most was that Dongqing would use them to threaten Qin Feiyong instead of killing them. In this way, they wouldn't be helping Qin Feiyong, they would be dragging him down. Qin Feiyong waved his hand and sent everyone to the castle. Then he looked at Yan Wei, Dan Wangkai, and Viper and reminded them, "Be careful." Then, he raised his arm and pointed his index finger in the air. Battle chi gushed out and condensed into Dongqing's illusory figure. Because Dan Wangkai and Viper had been in the castle, they did not know what Dongqing looked like. After remembering Dongqing's appearance, Dan Wangkai and Viper and Yan Wei turned around and each went in a direction, starting a carpet search. Yan Wei did not say anything. A 2-star combat emperor was enough to protect himself. Dan Wangkai was now a 1-star combat emperor, so protecting himself was not a problem. As for Viper, although he was still a 9-star combat saint, he had mastered all kinds of perfect occupation and forbidden techniques. It was no exaggeration to say that he had the ability to kill a 1-star combat emperor. So, even if Dongqing hid her cultivation base or mastered a divine art, it would not be a problem to delay for a while. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and looked at Wolf King, frowning. "Can you smell them now?" "There is no other way." Wolf King shook his head. This place was full of the smell of blood. Even if Dongqing stood behind it, it would not be able to smell Dongqing. "Let's go look for them too," Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice. Time passed by bit. About an hour later, Qin Feiyong and Wolf King returned to the center of Monarch City. But Yan Wei and the other 2 had not returned yet. They waited quietly. Another hour passed. Whoosh! Accompanied by the sound of something breaking through the air, the 3 of them returned one after another. "How is it?" Qin Feiyong asked. "I didn't find anything." Yan Wei shook his head. "Me too," Dan Wangkai said. "Same." Viper followed. Wolf King immediately flew into a rage and roared, "I don't believe that they will disappear from the face of the earth." Qin Feiyong glanced at it, lowered his head and fell into deep thought. Suddenly, his face was full of surprise as he looked at Wolf King and said, "Did they go to the canyon below?" Wolf King said, There are storms all around the canyon, how did they go down? Qin Feiyong thought, since Dongqing dared to cut off the iron chain bridge, it means that she must have something to rely on. Suddenly, a firm light flashed in his eyes and he said, "Let's go to the canyon to take a look." Feiyong, why are you here? However, just as Qin Feiyong and the others were about to leave for the canyon, a strange voice sounded in the sky. Who is it? Yan Wei and the other two immediately looked up, looking extremely vigilant. This voice. Qin Feiyong and Wolf King were stunned, and a trace of joy climbed up their faces as they quickly looked up. Immediately, they saw a middle-aged man standing in the sky. The middle-aged man was about 1.8 meters tall, neither fat nor thin, wearing a black robe, and his face was weather-beaten. White hair could be clearly seen on his temples, full of vicissitudes of life. And the most eye-catching thing was between the middle-aged man's eyebrows. There was a crescent-shaped mark between his eyebrows. Uncle Ren. Qin Feiyong affectionately called out. That's right. This man was Ren Wushuang's father, Ren Duxing. Swish. Ren Duxing glanced at Yan Wei and the other two, and with a flash, landed in front of Qin Feiyong and Wolf King, and said with a smile, "Long time no see." Wolf King laughed. "It has been a long time, how is it? Did you miss us?" "Of course." Ren Duxing rubbed Wolf King's head lovingly. "Young master he is?" At this time, Viper and the other two walked over and looked at Ren Duxing suspiciously. "Young master?" Hearing how Viper addressed Qin Feiyong, Ren Duxing was also quite surprised. Qin Feiyong waved at Viper and the other two and smiled. Come, let me introduce you. This is Ren Duxing, a very amazing person." Viper and the other two were stunned, and the curiosity in their eyes was even stronger. They all knew what kind of person Qin Feiyong was. Ordinary people could not enter his eyes at all. However, at this moment, he actually said that the person in front of them was a very amazing person, and his words were full of respect, which was a bit unbelievable. At the same time, hearing Qin Feiyong's introduction, Ren Duxing smiled helplessly, looked at Qin Feiyong and shook his head. "What amazing person, it's not as exaggerated as you said." "Exaggerated? I have never admired anyone in my life, except for Uncle Ren," Qin Feiyong said. "The more you say, the more ridiculous it is." Ren Duxing rolled his eyes and said, "Aren't you going to introduce them?" Qin Feiyong patted his head and smiled. "Look at my brain, I forgot when I was happy. Uncle Ren, they are all friends I made in Forgotten Continent." "Nice to meet you three." Ren Duxing cupped his hands and smiled. "Nice to meet you." Viper and the other two also cupped their hands and returned the greeting with smiles on their faces. However, what made them so happy was not because they got to know Ren Duxing. It was because when Qin Feiyong introduced them to Ren Duxing, he called them friends. Although it was just a title, they felt very comfortable in their hearts. Because this meant that Qin Feiyong did not treat them as subordinates. After a simple greeting, Ren Duxing frowned and glanced at the corpses in Royal City. He looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Feiyong, Uncle Ren knows that you have long had the idea of destroying the ruins, but isn't it too cruel for you to do this?" Qin Feiyong and the others were stunned. "Wait, you don't think that we killed these people, do you?" Wolf King said. "Who else here besides you?" Ren Duxing asked. Faced with Ren Duxing's question, Wolf King was speechless for a moment. Because if it was him, he would also have the same suspicion. After all, they were the only ones here. Qin Feiyong sighed. "Uncle Ren, these people were not killed by us." "No." Ren Duxing frowned and said, "Then who was it?" "Dongqing," Qin Feiyong said. "Dongqing?" Ren Duxing was slightly stunned and said in surprise, "Are you talking about the little girl of the Dong family?" "That's her." Qin Feiyong nodded. "How is this possible? Although I left the city a long time ago, I have seen her when she was a child. With my understanding of her, it should be impossible for her to do such a thing." Ren Duxing found it a little hard to accept. People change. In short, now she has lost her mind. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed with killing intent. Seeing that Qin Feiyong did not show any sign of lying, Ren Duxing's face darkened slightly and asked, "What the hell is going on? Quick, tell me the details." Qin Feiyong nodded. He told her everything that had happened in Iron Bull Town and the ruins. After listening, Ren Duxing sighed incessantly. He shook his head and sighed. I really didn't expect that the innocent and lively little girl back then would actually turn into such a person. It's really as the saying goes, the affairs of the world are unpredictable. After saying that, Ren Duxing asked again, what about the old man and Xueqi? Are they all right now? Qin Feiyong hesitated and said, the old man also went to the imperial capital. Everything is fine for now. For now. Ren Duxing was stunned. He frowned and asked, did something happen? Qin Feiyong lowered his head and hesitated. Ren Duxing said with a smile, you don't have to worry about anything, tell me the truth. All right. Actually, I am the son of the current emperor. Because of me, the old man and my sister were somewhat implicated, but it has been solved now. Qin Feiyong said truthfully, his face full of self-blame. The son of the current emperor? Ren Duxing looked at Qin Feiyong with a dumbfounded expression. Qin Feiyong nodded, then smiled bitterly and said, but for some reason, not only have I broken away from the relationship of father and son, but also to the point where you die and I die. In short, since I entered the imperial capital, a lot of things have happened, and I can't finish it in a short time. Ren Duxing patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, although I don't know what you have experienced all these years, I firmly believe that there is no obstacle in this world that cannot be overcome. I believe it too. Chapter 1147. Ren Duxing smiled and said, so this time you entered the ruins mainly to chase after Dongqing and the person who impersonated you? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and asked suspiciously, why did Uncle Ren come to Tortoise City? I also smelled the blood, so I came up to have a look. But I didn't expect that such a cruel thing would happen. Ren Duxing said. He hated evil as if it were his enemy. Yan Wei said, it's the first time I've seen such a cruel person in my life. But I don't know where they are hiding now. Qin Feiyong suddenly thought of something. He looked at Ren Duxing and asked, Uncle Ren, have you been in the canyon below all the time? Yes. Ren Duxing nodded. Qin Feiyong said, then did you see them enter the canyon? No. Ren Duxing shook his head and said, but with the source of power, I should be able to sense their aura. You can sense it? Qin Feiyong and the others were stunned and then overjoyed. Wait a moment. Ren Duxing said and closed his eyes. Qin Feiyong and the others could clearly sense that an obscure force, with Ren Duxing as the center, was spreading in all directions. Time passed breath by breath. About 100 breaths. Ren Duxing opened his eyes and there was a trace of confusion between his eyebrows. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong asked. Ren Duxing said, I did sense two strange auras in the canyon below, but, speaking of this. Ren Duxing frowned. But what? They looked at him in surprise. Ren Duxing said, it seems that something is blocking my search and I can't sense their location. This, Qin Feiyong and the others looked at each other. Wolf King suddenly said, is it because of Dongqing's sword? It's possible. That sword can even cut through the iron chain bridge. It's definitely not an ordinary sword. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice. This was even more troublesome. He had been to the canyon below with Lu Xingchen before, so he knew how big it was. If he couldn't pinpoint Dongqing's current location, then finding them would be like looking for a needle in a haystack. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment, then looked at Ren Duxing and said, Uncle Ren, take us to the canyon. No. Ren Duxing shook his head. Why? Qin Feiyong frowned. Ren Duxing said, do you still remember that I told you before that the 4 great sacred beasts are sealed below? Yes. Qin Feiyong nodded and said, I was the one who released the sacred monkey. What I want to talk about is the sacred monkey. In the past, when it was first released, it was only a battle saint, but now, it's already a battle emperor. Ren Duxing said. So fast. Qin Feiyong was surprised. Not fast at all. That's because it was originally a demigod vicious beast. It was only because it had sealed itself all these years that its cultivation fell to battle saint. And for an existence like it that sealed itself, when it breaks out, it doesn't need to start from scratch. As long as it absorbs enough essence, its cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds. Ren Duxing said. A demigod beast. Qin Feiyong and the others were dumbfounded. This was too shocking. Ren Duxing said, The 4 great sacred beasts of the Grand Canyon used to be Mu Tianyang's 4 great sacred beasts. Each of them has unparalleled combat strength, and they're not something you can deal with now. Qin Feiyang asked, what about the other 3 great sacred beasts? Ren Duxing said, the other 3 great sacred beasts are the sacred python, sacred eagle, and sacred lion. They're still sealed. Qin Feiyang said, in other words, they're only battle saints now? Yes. Ren Duxing nodded. Qin Feiyang said, then let's do it this way. Before they wake up, let's get rid of them first. That's what I think too. There's also that sacred monkey. If we don't think of a way to get rid of it now, we'll have no chance when its cultivation gets stronger. Wolf King said. Ren Duxing was stunned and said in surprise, are you confident in getting rid of the sacred monkey? Qin Feiyang asked, what's the sacred monkey's cultivation level now? Ren Duxing shook his head and said, I'm not sure. In short, it's very strong. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment and sneered, although it's no longer the sacred monkey of the past, I'm no longer the Qin Feiyang of the past. As long as its cultivation hasn't recovered to its peak state, I'm confident in getting rid of it. That's good. These 4 great sacred beasts have always been a big problem for me. In the past, I've thought of getting rid of them while they're sealing themselves, but those 4 great sacred beast emperors are protecting them at all times with countless fierce beasts. Although my strength is getting stronger day by day, they're also getting stronger. I can't find a chance at all. In the end, it's still because my cultivation is too weak and too incompetent. If it weren't for the fact that I've obtained Mu Tianyang's inheritance, I'm afraid I would have died in their hands. Ren Duxing sighed. Qin Feiyang secretly let out a long sigh. Frankly speaking, Ren Duxing suffered more than anyone else in the world, but he was also more noble than anyone else. In order to protect the thousands of creatures in the spiritual state, he had been guarding this place. He couldn't even visit his biological daughter and father. Who could compare to this kind of responsibility and breadth of mind? The Wolf King asked, after we eliminate the 4 great sacred beasts, will you be able to leave the ruins? Yes. After eliminating them, I can destroy the source of power and leave this place. But not only do we have to eliminate the 4 great sacred beasts, but we also have to kill the 4 great sacred beasts guarding them and the other fierce beasts in the Grand Canyon. Ren Duxing said. Qin Feiyang nodded. He had experienced the 4 great sacred beast emperors and other fierce beasts before, and they were ferocious by nature. If they were allowed to escape, the spiritual state would definitely be plunged into misery and suffering. No, not only the spiritual state, but the 18 counties in the 9 states would probably face a life and death catastrophe. This is no small matter. Are you really confident? Ren Duxing asked again. Qin Feiyang nodded heavily. Ren Duxing gritted his teeth and said, okay, I'll take you to the Grand Canyon now, but don't alert the sacred monkey first. Let's get rid of the sacred eagle and the others without anyone knowing. No problem. Qin Feiyang smiled and turned to Wolf King and Viper, saying, you guys go to the castle first and be prepared for battle at any time. Understood. The 2 men and 1 wolf nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent the 2 men and 1 wolf to the castle. Then he looked at Ren Duxing and said, we can move now. Ren Duxing took a deep breath, and a cold light flashed in his eyes as he said, let's go to the sacred lion's nest first. With a wave of his sleeve, he swept up Qin Feiyang and Yan Wei and rushed towards the Grand Canyon. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang said, Uncle Ren, there's a question that I can't figure out. Since the sacred monkey has already broken out of the seal, why didn't it help the other 3 sacred beasts break out of the seal? Ren Duxing shook his head. I'm not sure either, maybe it's not the right time. At this time, Yan Wei said again, I also have a question in my heart. Please speak. Ren Duxing said. Yan Wei said, what exactly is the source of power that you're talking about? It's very complicated. I'll explain it to you simply. The storm in the canyon, as well as the gravity, all come from the source of power. In other words, the source of power is equivalent to a control mechanism. Ren Duxing laughed. Yan Wei said, so you're saying that if you control the source of power, you can control those storms and gravity? Yes. Ren Duxing nodded. That's strange. Yan Wei frowned. What's strange? Ren Duxing did not understand. Qin Feiyang also looked at him suspiciously. Since you can control those storms and gravity, why don't you just use those storms and gravity to kill them? Even I am afraid of the destructive power of the storm and gravity. It should be very easy to get rid of them. Yanwei said. Qin Feiyong was startled for a moment, then suddenly said, "That's right, Uncle Ren, why don't you do that?" "If I could do that, I would have done it a long time ago." Ren Duxing laughed bitterly. "What's the reason?" Qin Feiyong and Ren Duxing did not understand. Ren Duxing said, "Cultivation." Cultivation? Qin Feiyong and Ren Duxing looked at Ren Duxing suspiciously. If they didn't look, they wouldn't know. However, what scared them wasn't how high Ren Duxing's cultivation was. On the contrary, Ren Duxing's cultivation was lower than they had imagined. He was only a mere 5-star war master. Ren Duxing laughed. "Feiyong, are you very disappointed?" Qin Feiyong laughed bitterly. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't disappointed. He remembered that when he saw Ren Duxing in the past, the impression that Ren Duxing gave him was that other than being great, he was also unfathomable. But he didn't expect him to be so weak. Ren Duxing shook his head and laughed. "It's not that I'm too weak, it's that you've grown too quickly. If you were still the War Emperor, I would still be unfathomable in front of you." Qin Feiyong laughed bitterly. This was the truth. Let's get back to the main topic. Although I have control of the source of power, due to my cultivation, I am unable to truly control the gravity and storm. I can only travel through the gravity and storm at will. Ren Duxing said. So it's like that. Qin Feiyong suddenly understood. But then he suddenly frowned and said, "That's not right. When my sister and I left the ruins, you seem to have controlled the storm to intercept us?" "Yes. But that wasn't actually control. I used my battle chi to push those storms in front of you." Ren Duxing laughed. "So that's how it is." Qin Feiyong suddenly understood. Yanwei said, "Since this source of power is so terrifying, can we not destroy it?" "That's right. If we can take it away, it will definitely become a great killing weapon." Qin Feiyong's eyes lit up. "You're too greedy. There are some things that we can't get just because we want them. Furthermore, I'm not interested in anything else right now. I just want to leave this place and reunite with Xueqi and the old man." Ren Duxing said. Qin Feiyong clenched his fists and said in a low voice, "Believe me, I will, and it won't be long." "Of course I believe you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought you down." Ren Duxing laughed. During the conversation, the three of them had arrived at the top of the canyon. Without a moment's delay, Ren Duxing took Qin Feiyong and the other two and turned into a stream of light, directly entering the storm in the canyon. The storm full of destructive aura whistled around them, but it didn't cause them any harm. How magical! Yanwei's eyes lit up. Chapter 1148. With Ren Duxing around, there was no danger in the storm. Very smoothly, the three of them passed through the storm and descended into the canyon below. A sea of fire entered their line of sight. Looking around as far as the eye could see, it was all raging flames. This place was like a big furnace. Even Qin Feiyong and Yanwei could feel the burning sensation. It's really an underground world. Yanwei looked at all this with a dumbfounded expression, feeling as if he was dreaming. That's not right. However, Ren Duxing scanned the sea of fire, his eyes full of surprise. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyong asked. Ren Duxing said, "There were originally many fire dragon lions here, but why can't I see even one now?" Qin Feiyong was stunned, and hurriedly lowered his head to look at the sea of fire. He was not unfamiliar with this place, because he and Lu Xingchen had been here before. Indeed, as Ren Duxing said, there were many fire dragon lions here. But now, looking around, other than the burning flames, there was not even a ghost. It was dead silent. "I have an ominous premonition. Come with me quickly." Ren Duxing's face was as calm as water, turning into a stream of light and rushing forward. Qin Feiyong and Yanwei looked at each other and hurriedly followed. Very quickly, a mountain peak entered the sight of the three. The mountain was not high, about 100 feet, but in the flat sea of fire, it was extremely eye-catching. The mountain peak was crimson red, surrounded by flames. From afar, it looked like it was made of magma. Whoosh! Ren Duxing led Qin Feiyong and the other two and landed directly on the mountain peak. The mountain peak was as flat as a mirror, as if it was cut by an axe, and in the middle of the mountain peak, there was a tunnel entrance. Ren Duxing walked quickly to the entrance of the tunnel, and said in a deep voice, "That Saint Lion is sealed below, but, speaking of which..." Ren Duxing raised his head and scanned the mountain peak, the uneasiness on his face growing stronger. "But what?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "The Lion King of the Guardian Sacred Lions usually guards this entrance. But now, not only have the other fire dragon lions disappeared, even the Lion King is gone. I can't help but suspect that something might have happened while I was away," Ren Duxing said. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said, "You mean before you went to Royal City, everything was normal here?" "Yes." Ren Duxing nodded. Qin Feiyang's face darkened as he shouted, "Quickly go down and take a look." Whoosh! With a wave of his hand, Yan Wei swept up the two of them and rushed into the tunnel like lightning. Inside the tunnel, heat waves surged. Not long after, Qin Feiyang and the other two were sweating profusely. But as they went deeper, the heat waves gradually disappeared and were replaced by a trace of coolness. However, gradually, the coolness turned into coldness, and the temperature underground became lower and lower. After going down for an unknown number of meters, the three of them finally arrived in front of an ice cave. Inside the ice cave, cold air lingered, and the cold current was bone-chilling. The three of them stepped into the ice cave and were immediately dumbfounded, only to see that there was nothing in the huge ice cave. But, in the middle of the ice cave, there was a pile of broken ice. Looking at the pile of ice, Ren Duxing's face instantly became gloomy to the extreme, and said, "Sure enough, something happened, the Saint Lion has been unsealed." So the Saint Lion was frozen here. And those broken pieces of ice were the ice that sealed it. "It must be Dong Qing," Yan Wei said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent as he looked at Ren Duxing and said, "Quickly sense if there are any changes in the other areas." "Okay." Ren Duxing nodded and closed his eyes. Yan Wei glanced at Ren Duxing, walked to Qin Feiyang's side, and asked in a low voice, "How many areas are there here?" 4. Forest, Sea of Fire, Glacier, Desert. The fierce beast in the forest is the black stone ape. The fierce beast in the Sea of Fire is the fire dragon lion. The fierce beast in the glacier is the snow eagle. And the fierce beast in the desert is the flying sand python. Qin Feiyang said. Yan Wei was stunned and asked puzzledly, "These fierce beasts are not rare, but why are you all so surprised?" "It's indeed nothing in the Forgotten Continent, but in the Great Qin Empire, it's very rare. Maybe it's because of the battle that year, these fierce beasts went extinct." Qin Feiyang guessed. "Which battle?" Yan Wei was curious. Qin Feiyang said, "The battle between my ancestor and the previous Emperor Mu Tianyang, although I have not seen it with my own eyes, and there are no clear records in the history books, but I can imagine how terrifying the battle between the two gods of war is. Moreover, to overthrow an empire, it's inevitable that people will be plunged into misery and suffering." Yan Wei nodded his head in realization. Not good. At this time, Ren Duxing opened his eyes, and his eyebrows were full of worry. "What's wrong?" Qin Feiyang was surprised. Ren Duxing said, "I can't sense the situation in the canyon now. What is blocking all of this?" "Don't worry. With the storm and gravity, even if Dong Qing wants to take them out of the canyon, it will take a long time. Let's quickly go to other areas." Qin Feiyang comforted. "Okay." Ren Duxing nodded. Qin Feiyang shouted, "Yan Wei!" Yan Wei understood and slapped upward. The battle chi was like a dragon, roaring in all directions. With a loud bang, the whole mountain was instantly turned into ashes. Whoosh! The three of them immediately rushed to the next area. There was no one in the glacier. The snow eagles living in the glacier had all disappeared. In the ice cave where the sacred eagle was sealed, there was no trace of the sacred eagle, only a pile of broken ice. Then, they went to the desert again. It was the same here. There was not a single ghost. It was like a land of death where not even a blade of grass grew. Qin Feiyang said, "They are not in the three major areas, so they must be in the area of the sacred monkey." "Jungle?" Yan Wei murmured. Sure enough, when the three of them flew to the edge of the desert, they immediately saw groups of beasts gathering in the sky above the jungle. Fire dragon lion, black stone ape, Flying sand python. Snow eagle. They were all here. They filled the entire void, and there were countless of them. As for their strength, they were weak martial masters and strong battle saints. The leaders were the 4 beast emperors. The Monkey King had 5 heads, each as big as a wash basin. 5 pairs of eyes like copper bells, emitted a terrifying murderous light. The last time I was here, the Monkey King only had 4 heads. Qin Feiyong stood above the edge of the desert and looked at the Monkey King. The 4-headed Monkey King had the cultivation of a battle master, and the 5-headed Monkey King was a battle saint. And he also had a deep impression of this Monkey King. At that time, he and Lu Xingchen almost died in the hands of this Monkey King. He looked at the Sand Python King, Eagle King, and Lion King. He was no stranger to these 3 beast emperors. Although they are not strong, if they escape from the ruins and enter the spiritual state, there will definitely be rivers of blood. Yan Wei said. Ren Duxing said, yes, we must keep them all. Qin Feiyong nodded. But suddenly, he frowned. Although the 4 beast emperors and the beasts of the 4 major regions were here, he didn't find Dongqing and Lu Xingchen, nor the 4 saint beasts among these beasts. Strange, where did they go? Qin Feiyong murmured. Ren Duxing also quickly noticed this, and his face was full of surprise. Gradually, the 3 of them found a very strange situation. They were above the edge of the desert without any concealment, but those beasts didn't seem to notice them, and they were all looking at the opposite cliff, including the 4 beast emperors. What's the situation? The 3 of them looked at each other. One must know. They didn't hide their aura. These beasts should have noticed them before they got close, but why didn't they react at all? They are all looking over there. Is there a deeper meaning? Qin Feiyong followed the gaze of those beasts. However, except for the cliffs, bushes, and weeds, he didn't see anything. No. Ren Duxing's eyes suddenly trembled. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong was surprised. Ren Duxing pointed to a place halfway up the mountain and said, look over there, isn't there a cave entrance? Qin Feiyong and Yan Wei looked over, and there was a trace of surprise in their eyes. On the cliff, there was indeed a cave entrance. It was dark inside, but the cave entrance was very small, and there was a bush in front of it, so they didn't notice it before. Furthermore, the marks on the cave entrance were new. It was obvious that it had just been excavated. Not good. Suddenly, Ren Duxing's face changed. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong and Lu Xingchen were shocked. Ren Duxing said, I know where Dongqing and Lu Xingchen and the 4 saint beasts went. Where? The 2 of them quickly asked. Follow me. Ren Duxing shouted. It's too late to find out now. However, at this moment, the Monkey King and the other beast emperors suddenly turned their heads and stared at Qin Feiyong and the other 2. The other ferocious beasts also looked at the 3 of them in unison, their eyes filled with ferocity. Ren Duxing's eyes trembled, looking at the 4 beast emperors, and said in a deep voice, they really went in? Yes. The source of power has trapped us for so long, of course we have to destroy it before we leave. The Monkey King smiled coldly. What? They want to destroy the source of power. Qin Feiyong was shocked, and quickly looked at the cave entrance and asked, Uncle Ren, is the source of power not with you? No. Ren Duxing shook his head. Qin Feiyong was shocked. Haven't you already mastered it? Why don't you carry it with you? Him. The Monkey King smiled disdainfully and said, what kind of divine object is the source of power? With his strength, even if he has mastered it, he can't take it away. He can only destroy it. I won't let you succeed. Ren Duxing was furious. Is that so? Now that we are all gathered here, a mouthful of saliva from each of us is enough to drown you. How are you going to fight us? The Monkey King said contemptuously. So what if there are more of us? Yan Wei took a step forward, and a terrifying emperor's aura poured out from his body like a volcanic eruption. The Monkey King grinned and said, I know you're a combat emperor, but it's useless. Clang. Before his voice faded away, a shocking sword chi swept out from the desert below, rolling up yellow sand and slashing toward Qin Feiyong and the other 2. Be careful. Yan Wei shouted. He pushed Qin Feiyong and the other 2 away with a palm and then used the Sky Demon 9 steps. In an instant, he took 9 steps. His aura soared to that of a 6-star combat emperor. Chapter 1149. However, not only was the sword Qi not destroyed, but Yan Wei's leg and thigh were also torn into pieces by the sword Qi. Fresh blood flowed out. Hiss! That heart-wrenching pain made Yan Wei suck in a breath of cold air. His face also showed a look of panic. The destructive power of this sword Qi was several times more terrifying than he had imagined. If this continued, even his body would be torn into pieces by the sword Qi. In the nick of time, he hurriedly flashed to the side and dodged the fatal blow. It can't be! Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyong and Ren Duxing, who were not far away, were dumbfounded. A 2-star combat emperor's cultivation with the perfect 9 steps of the heavenly demon couldn't block a sword Qi? Who exactly was it? So terrifying. You're really lucky. At this moment, a bone-chilling voice sounded from the desert below. Boom! Following closely, a white-clothed woman rushed out from the ground, causing a sandstorm to fill the sky. She landed in front of Qin Feiyong and the other two. It's you! Qin Feiyong's eyes darkened. That's right. This person was Dong Qing. He originally thought that Dong Qing had followed the 4 sacred beasts to destroy the source of power. He didn't expect her to be hiding here. Yan Wei consumed a healing pill and a regeneration pill. He stood in front of Qin Feiyong and shouted, "You two go and stop the 4 sacred beasts. I'll stay here and delay her." You. No. Dong Qing raised her arm and shook her index finger. Her face was full of contempt. In her other hand, she was holding a crimson sword, which was extremely sharp. Yan Wei glanced at the red battle sword and said coldly, "No matter what level of weapon you have in your hand, don't think of getting past me. You're overestimating yourself." Dong Qing smiled disdainfully and took a step towards Yan Wei. Her red battle sword buzzed and emitted a terrifying sword light. Qin Feiyong's pupils shrank. He took out a rib and threw it to Yan Wei. "Don't go all out. Just delay her." As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand and swept up Ren Duxing before flashing towards the entrance of the cave. "Is he really okay?" Ren Duxing was bewildered. "Don't worry," Qin Feiyong said. Even if there was a problem, they could only let Yan Wei stay. After all, only Yan Wei had the ability to contend with Dong Qing. At the same time, Yan Wei grabbed his ribs and rushed towards Dong Qing without hesitation. In an instant, the rib bone and the red sword collided in the air. Clang! A metallic sound exploded, resounding through the heavens and earth. A destructive aura spread out in all directions with the two as the center. The Monkey King and the other Beast Emperor's pupils shrank. They hurriedly led their subjects and fled without looking back. But even so, many beasts were still affected and died. Their blood splashed across the sky. For a moment, the place was filled with thunderous roars. At the same time, after the collision, Yan Wei and Dong Qing retreated several feet, their faces pale. Dong Qing immediately raised her eyebrows. This rib bone could compete with the battle sword in her hand? Yan Wei also lowered his head to look at his ribs. However, there was only a white mark on his ribs. Suddenly, his confidence skyrocketed. Swish! He looked up at Dong Qing and said, "The real battle begins now." He took the 9 steps of the heavenly demon again. His clothes fluttered in the wind, and his aura pierced through the sky. He was like a god of war descending to the world. Dong Qing looked up at Qin Feiyong and Ren Duxing. Seeing that the two had rushed into the cave, she immediately frowned. "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." She suddenly withdrew her gaze and stared at Yan Wei. Her cold eyes were like a poisonous snake, making one's scalp tingle. Clang! Crack! Rumble! A fierce battle began immediately. The two fought in the desert and the jungle. The sky was dark and the earth was dark, and the wind was strong. At the same time, using the phantom steps, Qin Feiyong brought Ran Duxing into a dark and gloomy passageway at lightning speed. Ran Duxing said anxiously, "Feiyong, before we get rid of them, we can't let them destroy the source of power." "I understand." Qin Feiyong's eyes were hazy. He asked, "How far is the source of power from here?" Ren Duxing said, "Not far. With your current speed, you'll arrive soon." Boom! But as soon as he finished speaking, a deafening sound came from the depths of the passage. The ground suddenly trembled violently. "Oh no, they've already started." Ren Duxing's expression changed. Qin Feiyong was also anxious. Suddenly, a cold light burst out from his eyes. With a thought, Viper and Wolf King appeared out of thin air. He shouted, "Go out immediately and kill all those descendants." As long as they killed those descendants outside, even if the source of power was destroyed by the 4 sacred beasts, it wouldn't affect them much. Understood. Wolf King and Viper looked at each other. Murderous aura immediately surrounded them as they turned and rushed out. Qin Feiyang also led Ren Duxing and continued to fly into the depths. Little poisonous snake. Your brother's blood is already boiling. Don't fight with your brother later. The Wolf King's domineering voice reverberated through the tunnel. Don't worry, Brother Wolf. I'll support you with all my strength. I guarantee that you'll have fun killing. But don't forget to take care of your little brother in the future. Viper's flattering voice also sounded. You're quite sensible. Your brother likes it. Wolf King laughed and warned again. But later, you have to be careful of the winged sand python's venom. Little Qin Zi almost died under that venom. Is that so? Then I'll give it a try. Viper's tone was full of disdain. Say, who do you think is stronger between the two of them? Is there a need to say? It's definitely Dong Qing. Hee, when Dong Qing kills him, Qin Feiyang will no longer have an expert to protect him. At that time, this emperor will definitely torture him. Yes. He must pay back the debt he owed in the past 100 times. Monkey King and the other 3 sacred beast emperors stood in the distance. Looking at the battle between Dong Qing and Yan Wei, they sneered again and again. They didn't realize that the god of death had arrived. Haha. Ants, your brother is here. Quickly kneel down and worship. Suddenly, a wild laughter resounded through the sky. Wolf King rushed out of the passage like a bolt of lightning. After glancing at Yan Wei and Dong Qing, he rushed toward Monkey King and the other 3 sacred beast emperors. Viper followed closely beside him. His skin, long hair, and even his eyes had turned green. He was like an evil spirit with poisonous gas soaring into the sky. Seeing a man and a wolf, Monkey King and the other 3 sacred beast emperors' fierce eyes were also filled with an astonishing murderous light. At the same time, in the distance, Dong Qing also looked at Wolf King and Viper. Her face suddenly changed and she angrily shouted, "You idiots, that man is a 9-star battle saint. Why are you still not running?" She also couldn't figure out why Qin Feiyang had so many experts hiding around him. Although a 9-star battle saint was vulnerable in front of her, for Monkey King and the other sacred beasts, it was undoubtedly a disaster. What? 9-star battle saint? Hearing Dong Qing's voice, Monkey King and the other 3 sacred beast emperors trembled. Run! Monkey King roared. The group of beasts gathered at the back were like birds startled by the twang of a bow. They covered their heads and fled. Run! Viper laughed and used a perfect auxiliary technique. In a few breaths, he was above the group of beasts. Boom! That astonishing poisonous gas poured down like a waterfall. In a flash, a huge poisonous gas boundary was formed and trapped all the beasts inside, including Monkey King and the other 3 sacred beast emperors. It's poisonous. Sand Python King's face changed. Viper glanced at the 4 sacred beast emperors and fixed his eyes on Sand Python King. He said, "I heard that even young master was almost killed by your venom. I'm really curious how poisonous your venom is." "Then I'll show you." Sand Python King raised his head and roared. A terrifying wave of venom flooded the sky and rushed toward Viper. He had full confidence in his venom. Splash! Viper didn't dodge and was drowned by the venom. "You didn't dodge? You're courting death." Sand Python King sneered. In his view, Viper was already a dead man. But suddenly, Viper raised his arm and wiped the venom on his face. He looked down at Sand Python King contemptuously and shook his head. "Your venom is nothing but disgusting. How is this possible?" Sand Python King glared. Monkey King, Eagle King, and Lion King were also in disbelief. They knew better than anyone how terrible the venom of flying sand python was. Even a 9-star battle saint couldn't be unscathed. However, this human was covered in venom but still acted as if nothing had happened. "I can't do it. Kill him for me." Sand Python King shook his head crazily and roared. Boom! Splash! In a flash, all the flying sand pythons in the poisonous gas boundary opened their bloody mouths and spat venom. There were more than 100,000 flying sand pythons here. What kind of scene would it be if they spat venom together? It was hard to imagine. In short, at this moment, the void was full of venom. It was like a huge wave that covered the sky and rushed toward Viper. The contempt on Viper's face became stronger. Suddenly, his pores opened, and the poisonous gas of the venom was sucked into his body. At this moment, all the ferocious beasts stared at Viper in disbelief. Their eyeballs almost fell out. He actually took the initiative to absorb the poisonous gas of flying sand pythons. Is this guy still human? Comfortable. Then now, I'll let you have a taste of my poisonous gas. Viper's face was full of enjoyment. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but his aura had strengthened a little. As soon as he finished speaking, he waved his hand and thousands of strands of poisonous gas fell down. Like gangrene attached to the bones, it drilled into the bodies of those flying sand pythons. Hiss! At this moment, all the winged sand pythons howled in pain in the air. Their bodies were decaying at a speed visible to the naked eye. In less than 5 breaths, only white bones were left and fell down. This Sand Python King was scared silly. Monkey King, Eagle King, and Lion King were also trembling in fear. How could a human have such a terrible poison in his body? Whoosh! At this moment, Wolf King entered the poisonous gas boundary. He was now a 3-star battle saint. Naturally, his speed couldn't keep up with the 9-star battle saint Viper. Chapter 1150. Sorry, I killed too many on a whim. Viper smiled embarrassedly and said, but I will leave the Sand Python King to you. It is a big fish. Wolf King looked at the Sand Python King and laughed. It is indeed a big fish. The Sand Python King's eyes turned cold. Such a disdainful attitude was simply a naked humiliation to it. But Wolf King turned a blind eye to the Sand Python King's cold eyes and joked, how can you be so stupid? You want to compete with Viper in terms of poison. Aren't you looking for trouble? Bastard! Go to hell. The Sand Python King flew into a rage out of humiliation. Compared to the other winged sand pythons, its body was very small, only about 1 meter long, and its body was covered with yellow scales. Whoosh! At this moment, its body was shining brightly like a bright arrow, carrying monstrous anger, shooting toward Wolf King. Wolf King smiled disdainfully. After all these years, the Sand Python King's cultivation had also broken through, and it was now a 1-star battle saint. But for Wolf King, a 3-star battle saint, it was naturally nothing in his eyes. It stood up like a human, and its body expanded in the wind. In the blink of an eye, a gigantic wolf appeared out of nowhere, and its holy aura roared in all directions. What? This momentum has surpassed us. The Monkey King, Eagle King, and Lion King all changed their expressions. A firefly's light wants to compete with the sun and the moon. You are overestimating yourself. Wolf King smiled coldly. He slapped with his claws, and even the battle aura was not seen. Accompanied by a painful roar, the Sand Python King was sent flying on the spot. Its body was split into 4 or 5 pieces, and blood splashed in the sky. Dead. Theta Wong was dumbfounded. Although the Sand Python King and Wolf King were 2 small realms apart, it should not be killed instantly, right? Run! The Monkey King suddenly roared. For a moment, the herd of beasts was in chaos, and they rushed toward the poisonous gas barrier one after another. However, the poisonous gas barrier was as solid as a rock. No matter how hard it was hit, it did not shake at all. Instead, it was the ferocious beasts that died one after another under the poisonous gas. I'll deal with you the same way you dealt with little Qin Zi back then. Despair. Wolf King laughed madly as he slaughtered in all directions. With the poisonous gas barrier in place, the Monkey King and the other beasts had nowhere to run. They could only wait for death in despair. Dong Qing's face sank as she watched the man and wolf slaughtering their way through the crowd. She glared at Yan Wei and said, I admit, I've underestimated you. It's good that you know. Yan Wei sneered. But even if you kill them all, it won't affect our plan in the slightest. Plan? Yan Wei's heart trembled as he asked suspiciously, what plans do you have? When you go to hell, the King of Hell will tell you. Dong Qing's arm trembled as the crimson sword in her hand shot out 10,000 rays of sword qi towards Yan Wei. I'm afraid you're the one who's going to hell today. Yan Wei's fighting spirit soared to the sky. He raised his rib and violently smashed it towards the sword Qi. Boom. Crack. Suddenly, the void in this place twisted and the ground sank. A wave of destructive air rushed out in all directions like a raging wave in the ocean, destroying everything. Whether it was Wolf King's slaughter or Yan Wei's fierce battle, both had reached the climax. Corpses were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. The canyon was shrouded in a tragic atmosphere. Boom! At the same time, the sound of bombardment at the end of the passage was also incessant. The sound of bombardment came from a grotto. The grotto was about 100 feet long. A black crystal was suspended in the middle of the grotto, spewing out wisps of black mist. Around the crystal stood 4 ferocious beasts and a white-robed man. They were crazily bombarding the black crystal. The man in white looked exactly the same as Qin Feiyang. Obviously, he was the man who slaughtered the invincible Black Army in Iron Ox Town. During this period, his Sea of Qi had been repaired, and his cultivation had returned to its peak state. The 4 ferocious beasts were a monkey, a snow eagle, a fire dragon lion, and a winged sand python. Among them, the monkey was the strongest. Its whole body was filled with Emperor's aura. That's right. It was the holy monkey that Qin Feiyang had released. The other 3 fierce beasts were undoubtedly the holy lion, holy eagle, and holy python. Their auras were similar. They were all 6-star battle saints. The man in white said in a deep voice, "I can already sense Qin Feiyang's aura. He's rapidly approaching. Everyone, let's work harder. Why are we afraid of him? With my current strength, killing him is as easy as slaughtering a dog." The holy monkey sneered. The holy eagle, holy lion, and holy python were also full of disdain. Although their current cultivation levels had already fallen to that of a 6-star battle saint, at their peak, which one of them wasn't a false god that struck fear into the hearts of others? Therefore, they looked down on Qin Feiyang from the bottom of their hearts. Is that so? However, before they could finish their words, a cold voice sounded. Immediately after, Qin Feiyang brought Ran Duxing and descended into the grotto. When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. The holy monkey's eyes suddenly surged with a strong murderous intent. Qin Feiyang glanced at the holy monkey indifferently. Then, he glanced at the man in white and the other 3 holy beasts. Finally, he looked at the black crystal and asked, "Uncle Ran, is that the source of power?" "That's right." Ran Duxing nodded. Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank slightly. The aura of the black crystal wasn't strong, but it gave him an extremely dangerous feeling. He also discovered that the black crystal was exactly the same as the 5-colored crystal in both shape and size. The only difference was their colors. One was black and shiny, while the other was colorful. Damned human, hand over your life. The holy monkey was already filled with murderous intent. Now that it saw Qin Feiyang ignoring it, it was instantly enraged. It roared and its aura exploded. It raised its millstone-sized fist and punched towards Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and looked at the holy monkey. This guy's cultivation had actually recovered to that of a 3-star combat emperor. Swish! He grabbed Ren Duxing and dodged to the other side. Boom! The holy monkey punched the stone wall of the grotto, causing the entire grotto to tremble violently. Qin Feiyang's pupils shrank. It was no exaggeration to say that the holy monkey's punch was enough to destroy mountains and rivers. However, the grotto only trembled for a moment before sinking. Moreover, the place that was hit by the holy monkey only dropped a little bit of dust. Could it be that this grotto was the same as the God's Island and the Dragon Island, and had been tempered by someone's divine power? The holy beast retracted its fist and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. It sneered, "The 2-star combat emperor beside you should be held back by Dongqing." "So what?" Qin Feiyang said indifferently. The holy monkey said, "Without the protection of the 2-star combat emperor, you still dare to come in. Aren't you courting death?" "Is that so?" Qin Feiyang chuckled and said, "You, a 3-star combat emperor, may not be able to threaten me." Arrogant. The holy monkey was furious. Its emperor's might was like a waterfall as it pounced towards Qin Feiyang. "I'm serious. I heard from Uncle Ran that you have recovered to the combat emperor's strength. Actually, I was quite looking forward to it. However, I didn't expect that you would only be a 3-star combat emperor. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled. Dan Wangkai appeared. Boom! Dan Wangkai immediately waved his hand. His emperor's might roared out and collided with the holy monkey's emperor's might. With a loud bang, Dan Wangkai's body trembled and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. After all, Dan Wangkai was only a 1-star combat emperor. In terms of emperor's might, he was definitely not a match for the holy monkey. There's actually a combat emperor hiding beside you. The white-clothed man's pupils contracted. My foundation is not something you can imagine. Qin Feiyong coldly glanced at him. He then looked at Dan Wangkai and said, "Can you do it?" Dan Wangkai grinned. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "If I can't even deal with a 3-star combat emperor, am I still worthy of being one of the Azure Sea's 10 heroes?" Qin Feiyong laughed. Dan Wangkai looked at the holy monkey with disdain and said, "Little monkey, I heard that you're very powerful. If you have the guts, come out and play with me." "Do we still need to go out? One punch, just one punch is enough to kill you." The holy monkey took a step forward with a ferocious might. His fist, which looked as if it was cast from divine iron, contained the power to destroy the world as it punched towards Dan Wangkai. "I'm afraid this little bit of power is not enough." Dan Wangkai shook his head and laughed. Boom! Suddenly, a golden domain appeared around his body. When this domain appeared, his aura crazily rose. In the blink of an eye, he broke through the shackles of a 1-star combat emperor and stepped into the 2-star combat emperor realm. However, it was not over yet. His aura was still rising. Boom! Finally, his cultivation forcefully broke through to the 3-star combat emperor realm. What's going on? The white-clothed man, the holy lion, the holy eagle, and the holy python all had a look of disbelief on their faces. Qin Feiyong was also extremely shocked. He asked in bewilderment, "This wouldn't be your forbidden technique, right?" "Yes, this is my forbidden technique, the holy light domain. It can increase one's cultivation by 2 small realms," Dan Wangkai said. After saying that, his eyes became dazed. He raised his arm and sent a palm strike towards the holy monkey. Boom! The palm and the fist collided in an instant. The holy monkey was sent flying and crashed into the stone wall behind him. He immediately felt dizzy and saw stars. Strong. Qin Feiyong's heart trembled. "You still dare to say that you can kill me in an instant?" Dan Wangkai looked coldly at the holy monkey. He waved his hand and forcefully pulled the holy monkey into the passage. "Human, you have completely angered me." The holy monkey roared angrily. The battle between a human and a beast unfolded in the passage. Qin Feiyong retracted his gaze and looked at the white-clothed man and the other 3 sacred beasts. He said with a smile, "It's our turn now. You are all 6-star battle saints. You won't disappoint me, right?" "We definitely won't disappoint you." The white-clothed man and the 3 sacred beasts looked at each other and laughed sinisterly at the same time. After saying that, the white-clothed man and the 3 sacred beasts unleashed their sacred aura and charged towards Qin Feiyong. "Uncle Ren, don't move." Qin Feiyong waved his hand. His battle aura appeared and formed a barrier to protect Ren Duxing. Immediately after, he took a step forward and activated the Soaring Dragon art. His cultivation instantly soared to the 6-star battle saint realm. How is this possible? The white-clothed man was stunned. "Nothing is impossible when it comes to me." Qin Feiyong landed in front of the white-clothed man and sent out a palm strike. His battle aura surged and the palm strike was like thunder. So what if you have the cultivation of a 6-star battle saint? You should know that we have 4 6-star battle saints here. The 3 sacred beasts were at the false god realm at their peak. The white-clothed man roared and furiously attacked Qin Feiyong. Chapter 1151. The 3 sacred beasts came at him from 3 different directions. Qin Feiyong had nowhere to run. But Qin Feiyong had no intention of dodging. He stood firmly in the air and glanced at the 3 sacred beasts. Crimson sword energy surged and 3 sword shadows appeared. They slashed at the 3 sacred beasts with an apocalyptic sharpness. Naive. The 3 sacred beasts sneered. Not only did they not dodge, but they also charged at the sword shadows. Clang! The three-sword silhouettes slashed at the three beasts in succession. However, what happened next made Qin Feiyong flabbergasted. The sword shadows were invincible. However, when they slashed at the three sacred beasts, they did not cause any damage. They only cut off some of their hair. How is this possible? Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled and were filled with disbelief. At the same time, the three sacred beasts attacked Qin Feiyong with their various abilities. Qin Feiyong spat out a mouthful of blood. He crashed to the bottom of the cave like a meteorite. His body was in unbearable pain. Although we are only 6-star battle saints, our physical bodies are still in peak condition. With your cultivation, even if you use a perfect battle art, you won't be able to hurt us at all. The sacred lion sneered. That's right. In front of an ant like you, we are like gods. We have immortal bodies. The sacred eagle laughed. Its pair of snow-white sharp claws were like deadly bone claws. They swiped at Qin Feiyong's head. Peak physical body, Qin Feiyong muttered. He stood up abruptly and a cold light flashed in his eyes. The Xueqi appeared and slashed at the sacred eagle. Ah! The sacred eagle let out an anguished wail as its pair of sharp claws fell down. How is this possible? He can actually cut off the sacred eagle's claws. The white-robed man, the sacred lion, and the sacred python looked at the howling sacred eagle in the air. Their hearts were in turmoil. That's all there is to it. Qin Feiyong laughed. With the Xueqi in his hand, he charged at the sacred eagle like a human-shaped dragon. I'll end your life first. Xueqi was as white as jade and exquisite beyond compare. It was like a masterpiece from the heavens, but its sharpness was bone-piercing. A trace of panic appeared in the holy eagle's eyes. Don't even think about it. At this moment, the white-robed man, the holy python, and the holy lion roared at the same time and charged toward Qin Feiyong. Humph! Qin Feiyong coldly snorted and threw out 3 palms. Golden light burst out from his palms. Return formula. 1 man and 2 beasts were sent flying on the spot. The sacred python and sacred lion were better off. After all, their physical bodies were strong. However, the white-robed man's face turned pale as blood gushed out of his mouth. Qin Feiyong. Is this all you've got? He stood awkwardly in the void, staring coldly at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong said indifferently, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's nothing to be surprised about. After saying that, he took a step forward and continued to attack the sacred eagle. Ha ha! The man in white raised his head and laughed maniacally. Suddenly, he lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyong and laughed sinisterly. I'm sorry, but what you see of me is just the tip of the iceberg. And Qin Feiyong frowned, stopped in his tracks, and lowered his head to look at the white-robed man. It's time to let you know my true cultivation. The white-robed man licked his lips, and his aura soared. 7-star battle saint. 8-star battle saint. 9-star battle saint. In the end, his cultivation had actually forcefully broken through to 1-star battle emperor. What? Qin Feiyong turned pale with fright. Qin Feiyong, wake up. The white-robed man's long hair fluttered in the wind. Like a demon god, he instantly rushed in front of Qin Feiyong and slapped his palm on Qin Feiyong's chest. Puff! Qin Feiyong flew out horizontally and slammed into the stone wall. His entire body immediately emitted a heart-wrenching pain. He lowered his head to look at his chest. His chest had already caved in, and his flesh and blood were a mess. Even his heart had been split open. If he had not activated the battle formula, this attack would have killed him. Did you see that? This is true strength. Your cultivation is nothing. The white-robed man laughed as he stepped on Qin Feiyong's face with an arrogant expression. Powerful. Really powerful. I didn't expect there to be so many hidden powerhouses in the spiritual state. I was really ignorant in the past. However, Qin Feiyong's eyes turned cold, and a mighty dragon's aura roared out from his body. If you want to kill me with just this little bit of cultivation, then you are gravely mistaken. Emperor Prison. Qin Feiyong roared, and the purple gold dragon soul roared out. Immediately, the entire stone cave turned into a prison. The holy eagle, holy lion, and holy python were all imprisoned here. The white-robed man was also shocked and quickly retreated. He raised his head to look at the purple gold dragon soul, and his eyes were filled with shock. Qin Feiyong slowly stood up, and dragon blood splattered and stained the ground. He swallowed a heart protection pill and coldly stared at the white-robed man. Is a one-star combat emperor very strong? I will kill you all the same. It doesn't matter. The white-robed man shrugged. What do you mean? Qin Feiyong frowned. Looking at the white-robed man's calm expression, an inexplicable sense of uneasiness rose in his heart. Because we have been planning for so long, and we have been waiting for this moment. The white-robed man chuckled. With a wave of his hand, a wave of battle aura appeared. However, this battle aura was not directed at Qin Feiyong, but at the purple gold dragon blood under Qin Feiyong's feet. Qin Feiyong looked down in surprise and saw the battle aura sweep up the purple gold dragon blood on the ground and immediately rush toward the black crystal. When the purple gold dragon blood sprinkled on the black crystal instantly emitted a black light. A terrifying aura burst out with a roar. In the end, the purple gold dragon blood was completely absorbed by the black crystal. In between the black light, there was a dazzling purple gold divine light. What's going on? Qin Feiyong's face was full of shock and confusion. The next moment, he saw something that made Qin Feiyong even more shocked. Clang! Whoosh! The black fog spewed out by the black crystal turned into a black iron chain that cut through the void like lightning and wrapped around the head of the purple gold dragon's soul. Then, the iron chain quickly shrank and pulled the purple gold dragon's soul toward the black crystal. What's going on? Qin Feiyong looked at the black crystal and then looked at the purple gold dragon's soul. The uneasiness in his heart grew stronger. He wanted to disperse the purple gold dragon's soul. However, he was shocked to find that he could not control the purple gold dragon's soul. Immediately, his body and mind trembled. Could this black crystal be the same as Wolf King's innate divine ability, which could deprive living creatures of their fighting souls? No! He shook his head crazily. The purple gold dragon's soul was his greatest reliance. He would never allow such a thing to happen. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed fiercely. He grabbed Chong Xue and rushed toward the black crystal. He wanted to destroy this strange thing. Whoosh! However, at this moment, the man in white stood in front of Qin Feiyong and pushed with both hands. The battle chi rolled out like a torrent and blasted toward Qin Feiyong. Get lost! Qin Feiyong shouted. The return formula appeared again. The golden light was dazzling and collided with the battle chi. Boom! Qin Feiyong was blasted away on the spot and blood spurted out of his mouth. The skin on his arm was torn and the flesh was exposed. The man in white also retreated a few steps and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at Qin Feiyong. You're really powerful. If it's one-on-one, even if I'm a one-star combat emperor, I'm definitely not your opponent. But now. Speaking of this, he turned his head and looked at the black crystal. His eyes shone brightly. Qin Feiyong also hurriedly looked up and saw the purple gold dragon's soul being dragged into the black crystal by the iron chain. Damn it! Qin Feiyong roared. The purple gold dragon's soul disappeared and was swallowed by the black crystal. The man in white looked back at Qin Feiyong and smiled. Don't worry, your purple gold dragon soul has not been taken away. Qin Feiyong was surprised and hurriedly looked inside his sea of qi. Sure enough, the purple gold dragon's soul that had disappeared reappeared in his sea of qi. He let out a long breath and looked up at the man in white. What exactly do you want to do? What do I want to do? The man in white murmured and then chuckled. The sacred eagle, sacred lion, and sacred python also laughed. Crack! Suddenly, a crisp sound was heard. Qin Feiyong hurriedly looked in the direction of the sound and saw a purple gold light shield above the black crystal. But at this moment, the purple gold light shield was broken. And the moment the purple gold light shield was broken, the black crystal seemed to have gained freedom and kept spinning in the air. At the same time, a murderous and bloody aura surged out from the black crystal. Under this aura, whether it was Qin Feiyong, the man in white, or the three sacred beasts, there was an indescribable fear in their hearts. Feeling. It was like a demon was awakening. What exactly is it? Qin Feiyong whispered. The man in white looked at the black crystal and said, Actually, it's not a source of power. Qin Feiyong was shocked. The man in white said without turning his head, It's called demon crystal. It's a demon comparable to a divine artifact. What? Qin Feiyong turned pale with fright. It was not a source of power, but a demon, and it was comparable to a divine artifact? You're surprised, right? The man in white turned to Qin Feiyong and said with a smile, Actually, we brought you to the ruins not to kill you, but to let you unlock the seal on this demon crystal. Seal? Qin Feiyong frowned. That's right. You saw the purple gold light shield that appeared outside the demon crystal just now. That's the seal. The man in white said. Qin Feiyong said, What's going on? Why do I need to unlock the seal? The man in white said, Because in today's world, only you can unlock it. Only me? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Yes. But that's not right. In this world, there are two people who can unlock this seal. The first is you, and the second is your ancestor. The man in white said. Say it clearly at once. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice. It actually involved his ancestor. This matter was definitely not simple. Well, I'll say it directly. The seal on this demon crystal was set by your ancestor. And to unlock this seal, there are two necessary factors. The first is the purple gold dragon blood, and the second is the purple gold dragon soul. As long as one of these two is missing, the seal cannot be unlocked. Chapter 1152. Purple gold dragon blood. Purple gold dragon soul. That's why you fought with me. On one hand, you made me bleed, and on the other hand, you forced me to activate the purple gold dragon soul, Qin Feiyong said. Yes. The white-robed man nodded. So this is a trap. Qin Feiyong felt bitter in his heart. He looked up at the white-robed man and said, But I don't understand. Why do you want to break the seal of the demon crystal? Because we want the demon crystal. You've seen the power of the storm and gravity, right? They were born because of the demon crystal. It's no exaggeration to say that the demon crystal has enough power to destroy the world. As long as you get it, the destruction of the great Qin Empire will be just around the corner. The white-robed man laughed. Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled. You're Mu Tianyang's lackey. He should have known that the white-robed man was with the four sacred beasts and must be related to Mu Tianyang. The white-robed man chuckled. Don't make it sound so bad. I'm his subordinate. What's the difference between a subordinate and a lackey? Qin Feiyong sneered. Whatever you say. It doesn't matter. Anyway, the demon crystal is in our hands now. The white-robed man said. In our hands? Qin Feiyong sneered and said sarcastically, You're too naive. The demon crystal is already under Uncle Ren's control. Before Qin Feiyong finished, the white-robed man said, The naive one is not me, it's you. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. The white-robed man said, Yes, the demon crystal is indeed under Ren Duxing's control, but he's one of us. The three sacred beasts didn't hide the ridicule in their eyes. What? Qin Feiyong's body quivered. He turned around and looked at Ren Duxing, who was standing inside the battle chi barrier, as he asked, Uncle Ren, tell me, is this true? Ren Duxing looked at Qin Feiyong without saying a word. Suddenly, with a wave of his hand, the battle aura barrier shattered. Then, he took a step forward and landed in front of the magic crystal. He raised his arm and spread out his 5 fingers. The magic crystal automatically fell into his palm. He stared at the magic crystal. At this moment, it was as if he had changed into a different person. The benevolence on his face had disappeared and was replaced by greed. Congratulations, my lord. The white-robed man and the 3 saint beasts exchanged glances before prostrating themselves in the air and worshipping Ren Duxing. Their expressions were incomparably respectful. My lord. Qin Feiyong trembled both physically and mentally. Could it be that what the man in white said was true? Ren Duxing was with them? No. Uncle Ren was definitely not that kind of person. He gazed at Ren Duxing's back, his heart filled with apprehension and a trace of anticipation. He was nervous. He was nervous that Ren Duxing would tell him that it was true. At the same time, he longed for it. He longed for Ren Duxing to tell him that everything the white-clothed man said was false. For a moment, the cave fell into a dead silence. It was unknown how much time had passed. Ren Duxing suddenly waved his hand and the magic crystal disappeared. Then, he slowly turned around and lowered his head to look at the white-clothed man and the 3 saint beasts. It's been hard on you all these years. Get up. Whether it was his tone or his expression, they were no longer as gentle as before. They were filled with indifference. Yes. The white-clothed man and the three saint beasts got up and stood respectfully behind Ren Duxing. Ren Duxing looked at Qin Feiyong. As for Qin Feiyong, the moment Ren Duxing spoke, it was as if a bolt from the blue had struck his mind. All of this was true. Why? He slowly shook his head as if he had lost his soul. Although he did not have a deep relationship with Ren Duxing and did not have many interactions, Ren Duxing's kindness and righteousness had deeply touched him. Therefore, he had always regarded Ren Duxing as a great hero. In addition to his relationship with Ren Wushuang, he also regarded Ren Duxing as a respected elder. Moreover, his character was also deeply influenced by Ren Duxing. In the past, when he was expelled from the capital, he hated the emperor, hated the great Qin Empire, and hated everything. This hatred was almost distorting his humanity. Until he met Ren Duxing. Watching Ren Duxing sacrifice his life for the sake of protecting all living beings in the world, he was incomparably touched. The hatred in his heart also gradually changed. He still hated the emperor as always, but he had gradually let go of everything else. Therefore, although he did not have much contact with Ren Duxing had a great influence on him. However, he did not expect that all of this was fake. The Ren Duxing he once saw was just a carefully concealed hypocritical face. It was not hard to imagine how big of a blow this was to him. Ren Duxing suddenly said, "Actually, I already knew that you are the son of the emperor." Qin Feiyong clenched his hands, looked at Ren Duxing gloomily, and asked, "How did you know?" Ren Duxing said, "I can sense the power of your bloodline." Qin Feiyong said, "So you have been lying to me using me?" Ren Duxing said indifferently, "You are very smart. If I don't do this, you definitely won't be fooled." "Why? What did my great Qin Empire do to let you become Mu Tianyang's lackey?" Qin Feiyong roared. Ren Duxing shook his head. "You are still too naive. Do you really think that I am Ren Duxing?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. Ren Duxing said, "This body is indeed Ren Duxing's, but the soul has changed." "What? Could it be that you are?" Qin Feiyong's face changed, and a terrifying thought crawled up in his mind. "Yes. I am Mu Tianyang," Ren Duxing said. Qin Feiyong shook his head. "Impossible. Nothing is impossible. Back then, your ancestor could have destroyed both my soul and body. However, due to his so-called benevolence, he spared me. He sealed a wisp of my divine sense in the demon crystal and used the power of the demon crystal to suppress all the 4 divine beasts under my command here." Ren Duxing said. "No, now it should be Mu Tianyang." Qin Feiyong shouted, "The ancestor is very benevolent. You should be grateful and not continue to do evil." "Grateful?" Mu Tianyang seemed to have heard the biggest joke in the world as he raised his head and laughed. "He destroyed my Tianyang Empire, killed my subordinates, and almost killed me. You still want me to be grateful to him? Even when he sealed me, he directly told me how to break the seal. Tell me, why did he do that? He's just humiliating me. Do you understand? Haha. Let me tell you, I can't wait to destroy his bones and scatter his ashes." His eyes were filled with killing intent. Qin Feiyong couldn't help but clench his fists. Suddenly, Mu Tianyang stopped laughing, lowered his head to look at Qin Feiyong, and continued, "He sealed me in the demon crystal, thinking that I couldn't escape, but he underestimated me too much. Although I only have a wisp of divine sense left, I am still a war god after all. After several thousand years, I finally tore open a crack in the seal. Although the crack is only as thin as a strand of hair, it is enough for me to escape." Mu Tianyang laughed proudly. Qin Feiyong mocked, "After thousands of years, you only managed to tear a hair-thin crack. What's there to be proud of?" Mu Tianyang was not angry at all, and continued, "After escaping, I originally wanted to wake up my former subordinates and leave. But in the end, I found that the power of the demon crystal had actually sealed off the entire canyon. In other words, if I wanted to leave this place, I had to first control the demon crystal. However, although I managed to tear a crack in the seal on the demon crystal, with my current ability, I wouldn't be able to destroy the entire seal without hundreds of thousands of years. I began to despair. Because only your ancestor has the purple gold dragon blood and purple gold dragon soul. Until one day, Ren Duxing broke into the canyon. A trace of reminiscence appeared in Mu Tianyong's eyes. With Ren Duxing's ability, it was impossible for him to pass through the storm and gravity and come to this canyon alive. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice. That's right. At that time I also found it strange. He could actually survive the storm and gravity? Out of curiosity, I secretly observed him and found that there was a red battle sword hidden in his body. It was this battle sword that was protecting him. Mu Tianyong said. Red battle sword? Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and said in a deep voice. Is it the battle sword in Dongqing's hand? Yes. When I learned that the battle sword could protect him, I knew that the opportunity had come. I showed up and asked him for help. But he was too stubborn. No matter how I tempted him, he just wouldn't help me. He even threatened to destroy this wisp of my divine sense. Of course I was very angry, so I found an opportunity to enter his sea of consciousness, erase his soul, and replace it. This is the so-called possession. As for that battle sword, it naturally belongs to me. Mu Tianyong laughed as if he was talking about a very ordinary thing. But Qin Feiyong's eyes turned blood red, and his hands clenched tightly together, full of anger. It turned out, Ren Duxing was indeed a good person. Mu Tianyong joked. Now, do you want to kill me very much to avenge Ren Duxing? Qin Feiyong took a deep breath, suppressed the anger in his heart, and asked, That battle sword, where did Ren Duxing get it? Mu Tianyong said, according to his memory, he got it in a place called the Magic Dragon Mountain Range in He Province. Magic Dragon Mountain Range? Qin Feiyong frowned. He had never heard of this place before and said, Then since you have already taken over, why didn't you leave? I left. But when I went out, I asked around and found that your ancestor had actually disappeared. And after 10,000 years, the great Qin Empire has become stronger. With my current strength, I don't have the ability to destroy it. So I came back here. On one hand I kept a low profile, and on the other hand, I continued to think of ways to break the seal. Not only does the magic crystal have the power to destroy the world, but more importantly, it is your ancestors. If I can get it, I will feel a little better. Mu Tianyong laughed. What? The magic crystal is my ancestors. Qin Feiyong's eyes widened. Yes. But now it belongs to me. Mu Tianyong nodded and smiled. Chapter 1153. Later, I used Ren Duxing's blood to seep into the demonic crystal from that crack and dripped it to recognize me as its master. Originally, I thought that after successfully recognizing me as its master, I could take the demonic crystal away. But I was still too naive. If your ancestor's seal was not removed, there was no way to take it away. Just then you appeared. At first, I didn't have much hope, but I didn't expect that you would actually awaken the purple gold dragon soul in the mermaid clan's holy land. When I saw the purple gold dragon soul, I expected that your bloodline power would awaken sooner or later. So when you entered the land of ruins, I used the identity of Ren Duxing to gain your trust. And you were really stupid. You actually didn't suspect me at all. Mu Tianyong shook his head and laughed. Yes, I was really stupid. Even my own father was not worthy of my trust, and I actually foolishly ran to trust a stranger? I really reaped what I sowed. Qin Feiyong shook his head and laughed at himself. But suddenly, his eyes trembled. Dripping blood to recognize him as its master? Since the demonic crystal was his ancestor's, then there should be a blood contract with his ancestor. How could Mu Tianyong succeed in recognizing him as its master? Could it be that his ancestor had already passed away? No. His ancestor's strength was exceedingly high. No one could kill him, but how could he explain the blood contract? However, just as he was letting his imagination run wild, he realized a very serious problem. That was the mermaid clan's holy land. He looked at Mu Tianyong in surprise and said, How did you know that my purple gold dragon soul was awakened in the mermaid clan's holy land? Mu Tianyong smiled and said, Do you still remember the valley in the Death Desert? Valley? Qin Feiyong frowned and asked, Is it the valley that suddenly disappeared? Yes. Mu Tianyong nodded. Qin Feiyong's heart sank and said, So, the skeleton at the bottom of the lake was really your skeleton? Wrong. It's not a skeleton, it's a god skeleton. Mu Tianyong smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Whatever you say, I just want to know the truth. All right, I'll tell you the truth. At that time, you looked at my divine bone and tried everything to take it away. In the end, you accidentally cut your finger and some blood flowed out. Your blood has been absorbed by my godly bones. It was at that time that I learned that you were a descendant of Qin Batian. Because I am too familiar with the power of his bloodline. Mu Tianyang said. Qin Feiyang said in surprise. You were already awake at that time? That's right. At that time, I had already successfully possessed the body. When I sensed the bloodline power coming from the divine bone, I immediately left this place and headed to the desert of death. Originally, when I saw you take away the pill scripture and my 6 ribs, I was quite angry. However, after thinking about it, you actually had the ability to sever my divine bones. You must be extraordinary. Then, I followed you in the dark and observed you. So, whether you went to the Merfolk clan or what happened there, I know all about it. Including that little girlfriend of yours. Mu Tianyang laughed. Qin Feiyang clenched his hands tightly and asked, Then why didn't you take back your ribs and the pill scripture? First, you need to grow and these things can help you grow faster. Second, your tragic background. When I learned about your background and situation, I felt that we could work together. Actually, I was training you. Mu Tianyang said. Training? Qin Feiyang sneered and said, Do you think there is a possibility of us working together? Of course there is. My goal is revenge, and so is yours. And the target of our revenge is the great Qin Empire. Why can't we work together? I also believe that as long as the two of us work together, with your ability and my foundation, we will be able to kill our enemies and wash away the shame in less than 10 years. Mu Tianyang said, his eyes full of killing intent. Qin Feiyang frowned. He didn't expect Mu Tianyang to have such a plan. Seeing that Qin Feiyang didn't speak for a long time, the man in white smiled and said, The enemy of my enemy is my friend. You are a smart person. You should know what to choose without us saying more. Qin Feiyang looked at the man in white and said, Who are you? The man in white smiled and took a facial restoration pill. His appearance immediately began to change. Soon, a familiar face appeared in Qin Feiyang's sight. It's you. Qin Feiyang's eyes widened as he looked at him in disbelief. The person in front of him was actually Zhang Jin. He was extremely clear about Zhang Jin's talent and cultivation, but he had already stepped into the War King? Are you surprised? A once mediocre and unknown piece of trash has actually surpassed a peerless monster like you. All of this was bestowed upon me by the Lord. Zhang Jin looked at Mu Tianyang with eyes full of worship. Qin Feiyang shouted, Now that you have followed him, you have indeed been reborn, but aren't you afraid of being infamy for 10,000 years? Haha. As long as I can destroy the great Qin Empire, I don't care even if I am infamy for 10,000 years. Zhang Jin laughed out loud. His eyes filled with hatred. Sigh. I saw Zhang Ren's death with my own eyes. I admit that the sacred temple has let you down. It's understandable that you hate all of this. However, you shouldn't have forced this hatred onto those innocent people. You must know that to destroy the great Qin Empire, it's not enough to just kill the emperor. It will also implicate countless living beings. At that time, it will definitely be a disaster and blood will flow like a river. Qin Feiyang sighed. Zhang Jin said, Then I would like to ask you, don't you hate it? Qin Feiyang nodded. I hate it, but I will not be Mu Tianyang's lackey and help him do those evil things. I will use my own ability to wash away the shame. You have talent and potential. No matter where you go, there will be people helping you. Of course you dare to say such things. But me? I have nothing, so I can only choose this path. I won't regret it. An empire without fairness, justice, and justice should be destroyed. Zhang Jin said. Is there fairness, justice, and justice in the Heavenly Sun Empire? If there is, my ancestor wouldn't have overthrown the Heavenly Sun Empire. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. Zhang Jin shook his head. I don't know what the Heavenly Sun Empire is like. I only know what I should do now. You're being stubborn. Qin Feiyang shouted angrily. You are the one who is stubborn. Look at you. You were originally a genius. But what happened in the end? Your cultivation was crippled. You were expelled from the imperial capital. and you even implicated your mother. Yet, you still continue to protect the great Qin Empire. Are you a fool? Zhang Jin sneered. Qin Feiyong fell silent. After a long time he said, "One cannot forget one's roots." Chapter 1154. Lord, let's get rid of him. This kid's potential is too terrifying. If we don't get rid of him soon, he will become our biggest obstacle in the future. Yes, let's take this opportunity to kill him in the cradle. The Holy Eagle, Holy Lion, and Holy Python didn't hide their killing intent towards Qin Feiyong. Mu Tianyang glanced at Zhang Jin and the three holy beasts before looking at Qin Feiyong. Are you really unwilling to cooperate? Qin Feiyong shook his head. Seeing Qin Feiyong shake his head, Zhang Jin and the three holy beasts immediately surrounded Qin Feiyong with killing intent surging in their eyes. Mu Tianyang waved his hand at them and looked at Qin Feiyong with a smile. It doesn't matter. There will be plenty of time in the future. I believe you will figure it out sooner or later. Lord! Zhang Jin and the three holy beasts were anxious. If they didn't get rid of Qin Feiyong now, it would be the same as letting a tiger return to the mountain. Mu Tianyang's face turned cold as he said expressionlessly, "Say no more. I have already made up my mind. In addition, no one is allowed to harm him without my orders." Zhang Jin and the three holy beasts looked at each other and could only lower their heads helplessly. What do you mean? Qin Feiyong looked at Mu Tianyang with a gloomy expression. Now that the devil crystal seal was broken, Mu Tianyang was free, and he had lost his value. So why didn't Mu Tianyang kill him? Do you really not understand what I mean? Mu Tianyang asked. Qin Feiyong frowned. But suddenly his eyes lit up and he said in a low voice, "I understand. To you, destroying the great Qin Empire no longer brings you much joy. What you need to do is to let me help you destroy the great Qin Empire." Yes. If I do it myself, first, I don't have the ability to do so. After all, my cultivation hasn't recovered to its peak. Second, it's too boring. The great Qin Empire is Qin Baishan's blood, sweat, and tears. If I were to destroy it, I would only feel happy because we are enemies. But you are different. You are his descendant. Think about it. If he were to find out that the great Qin Empire that he personally founded was destroyed by his own descendants in the end, how would he react? He'll probably jump out of his coffin in anger. Mu Tianyang teased. Qin Feiyong clenched his fists and said word by word, "This kind of thing will never happen. I also believe that the ancestor is still alive and will come back sooner or later." Don't speak so soon. Mu Tianyang shook his head with a smile and said, "All right, I still have things to do, so I won't play with you anymore. Let's go." After he finished speaking, he took a step forward and flashed towards the passageway. Zhang Jin and the three holy beasts glanced at Qin Feiyong and followed after him. Wait! Qin Feiyong shouted. Is there anything else? Mu Tianyang stopped and asked. Qin Feiyong said, "Since you have already escaped, why didn't your consciousness return to your body and still occupy Ren Duxing's body?" "Because I want to become stronger," Mu Tianyang whispered, his eyes shining brightly, and then he left without looking back. Qin Feiyong didn't stop him. Because he couldn't stop it. Dongqing and Zhang Jin both hid their cultivation, so the cultivation of Mu Tianyang and the three holy beasts was definitely not as simple as it seemed on the surface. Moreover, just a wisp of Mu Tianyang's consciousness was not something he could match. A god was a god after all. It was not something a mortal like him could shake. But he was confident that sooner or later, he would also take that step. Not good. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong's face changed. He used phantom steps and rushed towards the passageway. Yan Wei, Wolf King, Viper, and Dan Wangkai were still fighting outside. Mu Tianyang would let him go, but he might not let Yan Wei and the others go. So, he had to rush to the rescue as soon as possible. Bastard! The moment Qin Feiyong rushed out of the passageway, his face suddenly turned pale. Dongqing and the holy monkey were gone. Mu Tianyang and the others also disappeared. The storm above the canyon was also gone. Only corpses and blood were left on the ground. Wolf King, Yan Wei, Viper, and Dan Wangkai were also lying in a pool of blood, revealing little life fluctuations. Qin Feiyong hurriedly flew over and checked them one by one. Whether it was Wolf King, Yan Wei, or the other two, their chi was destroyed, and there was a bloody hole in their lower abdomen, blood spurting out like a column. Moreover, their sea of consciousness was also broken. If he had come a little later, he would have died. Qin Feiyong hurriedly took them into the castle. Seeing Qin Feiyong appear, Lu Hong and the others immediately rushed up, their faces full of concern. "Help me take care of them." Putting down Yan Wei and the others, Qin Feiyong said to Lu Hong and the others in a low voice, then walked to the alchemy furnace and opened it to refine pills. The chi and sea of consciousness of Yan Wei and the others were too seriously injured. So serious that even the spirit sea pill and essence soul pill with 5 elixir veins may not be able to repair them. So, he wanted to refine the spirit sea pill and essence soul pill with 7 elixir veins. After a while, 4 spirit sea pills and essence soul pills came out. Lu Hong immediately took the pills and gave them to Yan Wei and the others one by one. Their situation gradually stabilized. Qin Feiyong refined 4 healing pills with 7 elixir veins and gave them to them. Seeing that their injuries had not only stabilized, but were also slowly improving, Qin Feiyong heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Hong wiped the sweat on her forehead, got up and looked at Qin Feiyong, and said, "Mu Tianyang didn't kill them, but only seriously injured them, which shows that he cares about you." Qin Feiyong sneered. "That's because I'm valuable. If I wasn't, I'm afraid I would have been smashed to pieces." "Then what are you going to do next?" "Mu Tianyang is now really out of trouble, and he has the magic crystal in his hand. This is not a small matter. Should we inform the people in the capital?" Lu Hong's face was full of worry. Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, "Do you think they will believe me? Whether they believe it or not is their business. We just have to have a clear conscience. Besides, we are not doing this for them, but for the billions of people in the great Qin Empire. Are you able to watch as they die miserably at Mu Tianyang's hands?" Lu Hong said. Qin Feiyong looked at her and nodded. "Okay, I'll listen to you." Whoosh. After that, he left the castle alone and stood above the canyon, scanning the sea of corpses below. The blackstone ape, fire dragon, lion, winged sand python, and snow eagle were all killed by the wolf king and viper. The corpses of the monkey king and the other beast kings were also there. It was like a scene from hell, making one's scalp tingle. "I can't accept it," Qin Feiyong whispered. He had suffered a lot in the past, but it was the first time he suffered such a big loss. What he was most unwilling to accept was that from the beginning to the end, he had been living in someone else's scheme. Although the storm in the ruins had disappeared, the dark clouds had not dispersed, and Qin Feiyong's mood was very heavy at the moment. Whoosh! He flew into the sky and directly flew out of the canyon, standing above the iron chain bridge and looking in all directions. Gravity had also disappeared. However, this place was already devoid of life. It had become a true land of death. Where will he go? At this moment, Qin Feiyong had no clue. Before leaving, Mu Tianyang said that he had business to do, and this so-called business was definitely not a small matter. But Mu Tianyang was too unpredictable, and he really couldn't figure it out. "I'll go to the capital first." Chapter 1156. Butterfly Valley. Qin Feiyong's face darkened as soon as he appeared. There was a huge crater in the sea of flowers below. At the bottom of the crater, a muscular man in golden armor was lying, covered in blood. Qin Feiyong stepped forward and landed beside the muscular man in golden armor. He bent down and reached out to feel the man's pulse. The muscular man in golden armor was dead. Judging from the wounds on his body, he died not long ago. "Who did this?" Qin Feiyong murmured as he stood up and looked at the muscular man in golden armor. He was very familiar with the armor on the muscular man in golden armor. It was the uniform of the commander of the Invincible Black Army. This meant that this man should be the new commander of the Invincible Black Army. But how did he die here? As the commander of the Invincible Black Army, he should be quite powerful. Who in the spiritual state had the ability to kill him? Could it be? Suddenly, Qin Feiyong seemed to have thought of something. His eyes trembled slightly, and he quickly turned into a stream of light and flew toward a forest. The entrance to the secret chamber was here. Qin Feiyong was familiar with the place and quickly entered the secret chamber. There was no one in the secret chamber. He stood in front of the altar, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and his battle aura gushed out and flowed into the teleportation altar. Buzz! A moment later, the teleportation altar was activated and emitted a bright bloody light. Qin Feiyong stepped into the portal. The next moment, he appeared above an ice lake. That's right. He came to the Forgotten Continent again. He suspected that the person who killed the muscular man in golden armor was Mu Tianyang. He originally wanted to go to the imperial capital, but he was worried that Mu Tianyang would come to the Forgotten Continent. Mu Tianyang admitted that he couldn't shake the great Qin Empire with his current strength. Therefore, he thought that Mu Tianyang wouldn't enter the imperial capital rashly. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong dove down, and with a cracking sound, the ice on the lake broke, and he plunged into the lake. At the same time, at the peak of a giant mountain in the central divine kingdom, a purple-clothed youth sat cross-legged on the ground, his eyes glowing with a hazy luster. Suddenly, in his bright eyes, a glacier and snowy land appeared. A young man in a white robe was entering an ice lake below. This white-clothed youth was none other than Qin Feiyong. The scene in the purple-clothed young man's eyes froze at this moment. You're finally back. The moment the image froze, the purple-clothed young man suddenly stood up, a bone-piercing cold light shooting out from his eyes. Immediately after, he opened a teleportation gate and walked in. Ice Lake. A huge snow python was lying at the bottom of the lake, taking a nap with its eyes closed. At this moment, Qin Feiyong was standing in front of the snow python's head. With respect in his eyes, he cupped his hands and said, "Greetings, Senior." The snow python slowly opened its eyes and looked at Qin Feiyong. It asked suspiciously, "Why are you here again?" Qin Feiyong said, "Junior came to ask before Junior came, did anyone else enter the Forgotten Continent?" "No." The snow python shook its head and asked in confusion, "Why do you ask?" "No." Qin Feiyong frowned. From the snow python's attitude towards him before, the snow python shouldn't lie to him. But other than the Forgotten Continent, where would Mu Tianyang go? Could it be that he really went to the imperial capital? Or could it be that he had guessed wrongly from the beginning? The person who killed the golden-armored man wasn't Mu Tianyang at all? The snow python looked at Qin Feiyong suspiciously and asked, "Did you encounter some trouble?" Qin Feiyong said, "I wonder if Senior has heard of Mu Tianyang?" Mu Tianyang. The snow python's pupils constricted and it nodded. "The Emperor of the Tianyang Empire, of course I know. He's back." Qin Feiyong said word by word. "What?" The snow python's expression suddenly changed. "Qin Feiyong, I know you're down there. Get out quickly." At this moment, an angry shout sounded from above. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and looked at the snow python. "Senior, I'm sorry, I'm going to meet an old friend." The snow python nodded absent-mindedly, as if it was thinking about something. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong broke through the waves and flew out of the ice lake. He saw a familiar figure standing in the void above. Who else could it be but Mu Qing? When enemies meet, their eyes turn red. At this moment, Mu Qing clenched his fists and his eyes turned red. He couldn't wait to tear out Qin Feiyong's tendons, peel off his skin, and crush his bones into ashes. Qin Feiyong glanced at him indifferently and then looked around. Mu Qing said, "Don't look around, I haven't had time to inform Father and the others." "You dare to come to me alone?" Qin Feiyong was surprised. "Why not? I don't believe that you dare to kill me," Mu Qing retorted sarcastically. Before his voice died away, Qin Feiyong took a step forward and landed in front of Mu Qing in an instant. He grabbed Mu Qing's neck and sneered, "Who gave you the confidence?" However, Mu Qing was not afraid. Instead, he asked with a mocking expression, "Mu Tianyang is back, right?" "How do you know?" Qin Feiyong's expression changed. Mu Qing said, "Although I'm not in the great Qin Empire, I can sense everything about Mu Tianyang." "You can sense it?" Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. Mu Qing said, "Haven't you always wanted to know the origin of the Mu family? Now I'll tell you, the Mu family is the descendant of Mu Tianyang." Sure enough, Qin Feiyong's heart trembled. He had thought of this a long time ago. However, he did not dare to make a conclusion because he could not find any conclusive evidence. "I know where my ancestor is now and what he's going to do next. If you kill me now, no one will tell you this. At that time, you'll be like a headless fly, running around the world without any harvest. Don't think of using the slave seal to control me. I'm not Yen Wei and the rest. Threats and promises won't work on me at all. Mu Qing sneered. Qin Feiyong's face was as dark as water. Indeed. If it was someone else, he had many ways to make the other party speak the truth. However, he was not confident about Mu Qing. Qin Feiyong said, "What do you want?" "Divine crystals. And the space-time gate," Mu Qing said in a deep voice. Space-time gate? Qin Feiyong frowned. What did he mean? Wasn't the space-time gate in the hands of the Mu family? Why did he ask him for it now? Looking at Qin Feiyong's expression, the anger in Mu Qing's heart could not be suppressed. He shouted, "Don't play dumb with me." Qin Feiyong said, "Why should I play dumb? Tell me clearly." Mu Qing said in a deep voice, "Do you remember that day when you escaped from the inland sea and wanted to return to the great Qin Empire? My ancestor chased you here." "I remember." Qin Feiyong nodded. "It was at that time that the space-time gate in my ancestor's hands was snatched away by the damn snow python under the ice lake. You were there at that time, and you still say that you don't know?" Mu Qing roared through voice transmission. Ah! Qin Feiyong was stunned. There was such a thing? This did exist, but because it happened after he left, he only knew about it now. Qin Feiyong asked, "Is it the real space-time gate?" "What do you think?" Mu Qing said angrily. If it was just the fake space-time gate, he would not be so anxious. Haha, Qin Feiyong laughed. This was really something to be happy about. Seeing Qin Feiyong laughing at his misfortune, Mu Qing's face became more and more ugly. "Don't think about the space-time gate, because I don't have the ability to get it back from her. As for the divine crystal, it's not in my hands now. If you have the ability, go and ask the mysterious madam for it." Qin Feiyong said lightly. Mu Qing shouted, "All of this happened because of you. Shouldn't you be responsible?" "Responsible? Are you kidding me?" Qin Feiyong's face turned red. Wasn't this too funny? Such a smart and capable person actually said such a childish thing at this moment? It could also be seen how helpless Mu Qing was now. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed, and he asked, "Did you just come from the Central Divine Kingdom?" Mu Qing nodded instinctively. But as soon as he nodded, a strong sense of uneasiness rose in his heart. He looked at Qin Feiyong warily and said, "What do you want to do?" The space-time gate was stolen. Everyone in the Mu family must be very sad, right? So the fake space-time gate on you can't be kept. Qin Feiyong said with a smile. Mu Qing's eyelids twitched and he said in a deep voice, "Why? Haven't you heard of the saying that seeing an object hurts the feelings? Seeing the fake space-time gate, you will definitely remember the real space-time gate. So, why don't you give it to me? I promise you that I will cherish it." Qin Feiyong smiled mockingly and snatched Mu Qing's Chengkuan bag. Taking advantage of people's difficulties. Shameless, despicable, despicable. Mu Qing cursed angrily. "I'm doing this for your own good. Why can't you understand?" Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. Then, he sank his mind into the Chengkuan bag, but he didn't find the space-time gate inside. He frowned and looked at Mu Qing's lower abdomen. Although the fake space-time gate was only a divine artifact, in terms of practicality, it was not inferior to some divine artifacts. Such an important thing should be in Mu Qing's Sea of Qi. Looking at Qin Feiyong's fiery eyes, Mu Qing panicked. Puff! But Qin Feiyong didn't show any mercy. His big hand was like a blade, directly tearing the flesh on Mu Qing's lower abdomen. He reached into his Sea of Qi and grabbed the fake space-time gate. "I won't let you have your way even if I die." Mu Qing was desperate and wanted to destroy the space-time gate. But would Qin Feiyong give him the chance? Obviously not. Battle Qi surged in his palm, instantly erasing the blood contract in the space-time gate. Then, he quickly dripped his blood to make it recognize him as its master. After successfully recognizing him as its master, Qin Feiyong sized up the space-time gate. Then he looked at Mu Qing and said with a smile, "You sent me a treasure from afar. How do you think I should thank you?" These words were too sarcastic and infuriating. Mu Qing spat out a mouthful of old blood on the spot. "Don't be like this. I'll definitely repay you well." Qin Feiyong smiled mockingly. With a wave of his hand, he sent Mu Qing to the ancient castle. He was worried that he couldn't find a bargaining chip to fight against the Mu family. He didn't expect Mu Qing to deliver himself to his doorstep. In the past, he didn't do anything to Mu Qing because he had a lot of concerns, so he had to think twice before he acted. But now, he had done what he promised the mysterious madam. The main tower had completely fallen out with her. What else did he have to worry about? Nothing. Chapter 1157. After putting away the space-time gate, Qin Feiyong took out the image crystal. Bas. After a while, a familiar face appeared. It was Wang Zicheng. Yes. Wang Zicheng was about to bow. Qin Feiyong reached out and stopped him. Seeing this, Wang Zicheng looked suspicious. Wait a minute. After saying this, Qin Feiyong turned off the image crystal and entered the ancient castle. Immediately, he saw Mu Qing lying on the ground, wailing in agony. Her entire body was stained with blood. Fatso was wantonly torturing him. Seeing Qin Feiyong appear, Mu Qing immediately roared, "Qin Feiyong, you let them do this to me. Aren't you afraid that after I escape, I will find someone to kill all of you? If you really had the ability, we wouldn't have escaped from the inland sea. Besides, now that you have fallen into our hands, do you still want to escape? Are you dreaming?" Fatso said disdainfully. Mu Qing roared, "That's because you are lucky. Good luck won't follow you all your life." Qin Feiyong glanced at him and said lightly, "Okay, knock him out." Okay. Fatso nodded and slapped Mu Qing on the back of his head. Mu Qing fainted on the spot. Qin Feiyong sent a message to Wang Zicheng again. So far, except for the mysterious lady and the other two, no one knew about his relationship with the 10 heroes of Qinghai. So now he couldn't let Mu Qing hear his conversation with Wang Zicheng, because it was related to the lives of Wang Zicheng and others. If Mu Qing really escaped, he would definitely find ways to take revenge on him. Then Wang Zicheng and others would be doomed. Greetings, young master. After Wang Zicheng's virtual image appeared, he glanced at Fatso and others, and then reluctantly bowed to Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong didn't care. He asked with a smile, "How are you recently?" "It's all right." Wang Zicheng nodded and asked, "What about you?" "It's all right." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly. Wang Zicheng continued, "Right, there's something that the black monkey and I can't decide on, so we need to ask for your opinion. Speak." Qin Feiyong said. Wang Zicheng said, "Some time ago, Gongsun Bei came to Qinghai to find us." Before Wang Zicheng could finish, Fatso frowned and asked, "Why is he looking for you?" Wang Zicheng said, "He wants us to join the main pagoda and become its disciples." What? Qin Feiyong and the others looked at each other. What the main tower values is nothing more than our talent and potential. They want to recruit us for their own use. To be precise, he wants to nurture us so that we can fight against you. After all, in the younger generation of the Forgotten Continent, there is no one who can compete with you. Wang Zicheng looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "I see." Qin Feiyong suddenly understood and asked, "Then what do you think? Aren't you the one who calls the shots now? What else do we dare to think?" Wang Zicheng pouted. Qin Feiyong shook his head and smiled, then lowered his head and pondered. After a while, his eyes flashed, and he looked up at Wang Zicheng and said, "I agree that you all should join the main tower." What? Fatso and the others looked at Qin Feiyong in surprise. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "They want to help me nurture talents, of course I'm happy to do so." Understood. The Qinghai 10 heroes are all our people. The main tower nurtures them, which is the same as helping us nurture them. "Boss, you're really treacherous," Fatso said with a sinister smile. Treacherous indeed. Wang Zicheng also had a look of disdain. Qin Feiyong shook his head and looked at Wang Zicheng, saying, "Since we're going to put on a show, let's go all the way. From now on, you have to treat me as an enemy." Got it. Wang Zicheng nodded. Also about Dan Wangkai and Viper, if Gongsun Bei asks about them, just say that they're missing. Qin Feiyong said. Okay. Wang Zicheng nodded and asked, "Is there anything else?" "No, you all have to be careful," Qin Feiyong exhorted and then turned off the image crystal. Fatso looked at Yen Wei and the others lying on the side and said in a deep voice, "Boss, we can't be so passive anymore." Never again. Mu Tianyang, the Mu family, the main tower, the Great Qin Empire. This is a game. And from this moment on, I'm no longer a chess piece. I'm going to become a chess player in this game. Although I don't have the ability to compete with them now, sooner or later, I'll make them all surrender at my feet and tremble in fear. Qin Feiyong clenched his fists and his eyes emitted an aggressive light. Fatso and the others looked at each other and remained silent. However, those incomparably resolute gazes represented their undying hearts. Qin Feiyong looked at Yen Wei and the others and Wolf King, and said to Lu Hong, "Take care of them. When they wake up, inform me immediately." Lu Hong nodded. Qin Feiyong looked at Fatso and said, "I must know Mu Tianyang's next plan, so no matter what method you use, you have to make Mu Qing speak for me." Understood. Fatso smiled coldly. Whoosh. Qin Feiyong flashed and left the castle. He found the snow python again and said, "Senior, how much do you know about Mu Tianyang?" "More or less. I know a little about it. But regarding his matters, don't look for me. Because, as long as he doesn't enter the Forgotten Continent, I won't ask." The snow python said lightly. Understood. Junior will take his leave. Qin Feiyong bowed and saluted. Then, he opened the secret door. The snow python frowned and said, "You're leaving just like that?" "Ha!" Qin Feiyong looked at her puzzled. The snow python said, "Leave the Mu family's boy here." This, Qin Feiyong was stunned. The snow python said, "Last time when I wasn't paying attention, you took away Yen Wei, and I didn't pursue it. Now you want to take away the Mu family's boy. Do you think I'm really easy to talk to?" No. Qin Feiyong waved his hand again and again. "Let me tell you, this time there is no discussion. If you don't hand him over, don't think about going back." The snow python released its aura, shook off Qin Feiyong, and then closed the secret door with a bang, and then used its huge body to block the door. This time Qin Feiyong was stunned. Looking at the snow python's attitude, he really didn't know what to do. "Senior, this Mu Qing is very useful to Junior. Can you be merciful and make an exception?" After thinking for a while, he could only think of this method, coaxing and pestering. "No." The snow python shook its head. Qin Feiyong helplessly said, "Then what do you want me to do?" The snow python angrily said, "You still want to bribe me, don't you understand my words?" Qin Feiyong smiled. The snow python frowned. "Look at you, today you must take him away? In front of you, Junior doesn't dare to say this." Qin Feiyong rubbed his head and said with a smile, looking silly, Okay. Don't put on an act. You can take him away, but leave your purple gold dragon blood." The snow python impatiently said. "Purple gold dragon blood?" Qin Feiyong was stunned, and said happily, "No problem, it's a small matter." Then he waved his hand, and a battle chi boundary appeared, separating the lake water, and then he cut his finger. The snow python playfully said, "I want more than one drop. You can have as much as you want." Qin Feiyong waved his hand indifferently. He had a forthright look on his face. Anyway, he had plenty of purple gold dragon blood in his body. "Don't regret it." The snow python laughed, and a light flashed in front of it, and a crystal-clear jade appeared. The jade was about the size of a bucket, and there was no flaw on it, as if it was made by nature. Seeing this jade, Qin Feiyong's eyes almost popped out. The snow python said, "Fill it up." "What?" Qin Feiyong was dumbfounded and stammered, "Senior, are you sure you're not joking?" The snow python said, "Do I look like I'm joking? But it's too big. Even if I drain all my blood, it won't be enough." Qin Feiyong put on a long face, feeling extremely wronged. The snow python said with a smile, "It's okay, take your time. Anyway, I have plenty of time." Qin Feiyong cried. However, he had to take Mu Qing away. After all, the snow python in front of him was an existence that could even suppress a fake god. He gritted his teeth, took out the Chong Shui, and cut his wrist. The purple gold dragon blood immediately surged out. But in less than a tenth of it, he began to feel dizzy. He had no choice but to heal the wound on his wrist and enter the castle to refine the blood coagulation pill. Like the lifeblood pill, the blood coagulation pill could quickly restore the lost blood. And the effect of the blood coagulation pill was better than that of the lifeblood pill. In addition, it had 7 elixir veins. In less than an hour, Qin Feiyong's lost blood was restored. Time flew. When it was dark, the jadeware in front of him was finally full. Qin Feiyong healed his wound and looked at the big bucket full of purple gold dragon blood. He couldn't help but feel pained. Then he looked up at the snow python and said, "Is this enough?" "Yes, let's go." The snow python didn't make things difficult for Qin Feiyong anymore. It simply let Qin Feiyong go. Qin Feiyong hesitated for a moment and said, "Can I ask, what do you want my blood for?" The snow python frowned. Qin Feiyong shrank his neck and left sensibly. After a while, Qin Feiyong once again arrived in the sky above the Butterfly Valley. He took a blood coagulation pill and looked around. Night fell and cold air filled the air. This place was quiet. Looking at the dim mountains and rivers, Qin Feiyong's eyes were confused. Buzz! After an unknown period of time, the image crystal in his arms rang. When Qin Feiyong took it out, Lu Hong's shadow appeared and said, "Awake." Qin Feiyong was refreshed and entered the castle. Yan Wei, Wolf King, Viper, and Dan Wangkai had all woken up. At this moment, they were leaning against the wall weakly. Qin Feiyong asked, "When Mu Tianyang left, did he say anything to you?" Yan Wei shook his head. Mu Qing, who was beaten black and blue by Fatso, sneered, "If I don't say it, you'll never guess." "Shut up." Fatso slapped Mu Qing, and another bloody palm print appeared on her face. Qin Feiyong turned to Mu Qing and raised his eyebrows slightly. He looked at Fatso and asked, "He still won't say it?" "Fat Lord has tried everything, but this guy just won't say anything. Fat Lord is almost at his wit's end." Chapter 1158. Qin Feiyong's gaze turned cold, his hands forming a seal in front of his chest, and an enslavement seal quickly appeared. Whoosh! Following closely, the enslavement seal entered Mu Qing's sea of consciousness. Ah! The intense pain caused Mu Qing to howl miserably. When the pain disappeared, Mu Qing's face was slightly sinister, and he looked at Qin Feiyong mockingly, saying, "I've already told you, this is useless to me." "I don't expect you to tell me now," Qin Feiyong said indifferently, and then left the ancient castle with Wolf King, appearing beside the golden armored man's corpse. Qin Feiyong said, "Smell it, do you have the aura of Mu Tianyang and the others?" Wolf King lowered his head and sniffed carefully. A moment later, its eyes lit up as it looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "Although a long time has passed and the smell has almost dissipated, I can still smell the smell of that damn monkey." Qin Feiyong's face darkened and said, "So they really did it. What do we do now?" Wolf King asked. Qin Feiyong said, "They didn't go to the Forgotten Continent, so they should have gone to the imperial capital." "Impossible. The Spirit Pagoda is overseen by Old Man Qin. With Mu Tianyang's current strength, running there is simply courting death," Wolf King said. "But don't forget, Mu Tianyang used to be a war god who could contend against the ancestor. Even if his cultivation is not as good as before, his methods are still not something we can imagine," Qin Feiyong said. "So?" Wolf King asked. "I know what you're worried about. If we go to the imperial capital, it's equivalent to walking into a trap. But if they really went to the imperial capital, then the imperial capital must be in chaos now." Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. Wolf King pondered for a moment and nodded. "That makes sense, then let's go to the imperial capital to take a look. Before we go, we still have to make some preparations." Qin Feiyong glanced at the golden armored man in front of him, and his eyes suddenly lit up, bringing Yan Wei out of the ancient castle. "What's the matter?" Yan Wei looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyong said, "Disguise yourself as him." Yan Wei glanced at him, and instantly understood Qin Feiyong's goal. "This is very simple, but there is a problem." "What is it?" Qin Feiyong asked. "Before we came here, he was already dead. We don't even know his cultivation level. But the people in the Emperor Palace would definitely know. What if my cultivation doesn't match his? Wouldn't I be exposed?" Yan Wei said. Qin Feiyong nodded and muttered, "The Black Iron Army is not as good as the Kirin Army, so whether it's the commander or the deputy commander, Their cultivation is not very high. Suddenly, he seemed to have thought of something, looked at Qin Feiyong, Yan Wei, and Wolf King, and said, "You guys wait for me here, I'm going to find someone." Who? One man and one wolf were suspicious. Wang Hong. After Qin Feiyong finished speaking, he opened the portal and walked in. Whether it was the prefecture city or the mansion master's mansion, Qin Feiyong was very familiar with them. He also guessed where Wang Hong might live. Night. The waning moon hung in the sky, and the cold stars flickered. A loft was located beside a pond, and there was no one around. Only a weak candlelight came from a window, making it look very cold and lonely. Through the window, one could vaguely see a figure sitting inside. This was the old man's former residence. And now, the old man had resigned and gone to the imperial capital, so it naturally belonged to Wang Hong. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong landed in front of the loft, looked around, and raised his head to look at the figure in the window. A long-lost smile appeared on his face. He took a step forward and walked to the window. When he opened the window, a familiar figure immediately entered his sight. Who else could it be but Wang Hong? He saw Wang Hong sitting in front of the coffee table, rubbing his forehead with a worried and distressed expression. Hearing the sound of the window opening, Wang Hong also looked up suspiciously. When he saw that it was actually Qin Feiyong, his expression changed drastically. Qin Feiyong flashed and entered the room. Wang Hong immediately got up and stood in front of the window, looking outside vigilantly. Then he closed the window and turned to look at Qin Feiyong, asking, "Did anyone notice that you're here?" Qin Feiyong shook his head. "That's good." Wang Hong heaved a sigh of relief, pointed to the coffee table next to him, and said with a smile, "Sit down." Qin Feiyong nodded, walked to the coffee table, and sat opposite Wang Hong. Wang Hong asked with concern, "Where have you been all this time?" Qin Feiyong said, "Iron Bull Town." Wang Hong suddenly understood and said with a smile, "Compared to the imperial capital, Iron Bull Town gave you a sense of belonging, right?" "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded. Wang Hong asked, "Then why did you come to me now?" Qin Feiyong said, "I came to ask you if you know the cultivation of the muscular man in golden armor." "The muscular man in golden armor?" Wang Hong was stunned. Qin Feiyong said, "The new commander of the invincible Black Army." "Oh, him." Wang Hong nodded and said in a deep voice, "He's very powerful. I heard from a few soldiers of the invincible Black Army that he's a 2-star combat emperor." "A 2-star combat emperor?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. "Isn't he the same as Yan Wei? This is a heaven-sent opportunity. Why are you asking about this? Are you going to attack him?" Wang Hong was surprised. Qin Feiyong said with a smile, "I don't need to do anything. He's already dead." "What?" Wang Hong suddenly stood up and said in shock, "Who did it?" "A very terrifying person." Qin Feiyong didn't say it clearly, because the news of Mu Tianyong's return was too shocking. Once it was spread out, it would definitely cause a commotion. Wang Hong's pupils contracted. Although Qin Feiyong didn't say it clearly, he knew Qin Feiyong very well. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to enter Qin Feiyong's eyes. Therefore, if Qin Feiyong said the word terrifying, then the person must be extraordinarily terrifying. Of course, he could also see that Qin Feiyong was deliberately hiding it from him. Therefore, he didn't ask too much and didn't ask about Qin Feiyong's future plans. He only reminded Qin Feiyong to be careful. As for Wang Hong's concern for him, Qin Feiyong also remembered it in his heart. After he stood up and bowed, he prepared to leave. Crack! Right at this moment, accompanied by a loud noise, the window was instantly destroyed. 2 black figures appeared in front of the window. Qin Feiyong and Wang Hong were shocked. They immediately looked at the 2 figures and their expressions changed. The 2 figures were wearing the armor of the invincible Black Army. They had thick eyebrows and big eyes. Their bodies were burly and their eyes were extremely sharp. Their bodies emitted an extremely terrifying aura. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyong thought to himself. "I don't know either." Wang Hong shook his head. His eyes were filled with confusion. The 2 burly men glanced at Wang Hong and then looked at Qin Feiyong. Boom! Without saying a word, their aura exploded and they slammed their palms in the air. Two waves of battle chi rolled out and turned into a huge wave that rushed toward Qin Feiyang. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the attic was torn apart and dust filled the air. 5-star battle saints. Qin Feiyang's eyes were also filled with murderous intent. He pushed Wang Hong away with his palm and met the attack head-on. The two of them must have heard the conversation between him and Wang Hong. He had to kill them to silence them. Boom! As they neared, Qin Feiyang's body trembled and his aura suddenly soared. That's right. He had activated the Soaring Dragon incantation. In Iron Ox Town, his cultivation had already broken through to a 6-star battle saint. With the help of the Soaring Dragon incantation, he was now a 6-star battle saint. In front of a 6-star battle saint, 2 5-star battle saints would be able to crush him. His eyes were like torches. He punched out and a terrifying force roared in all directions. He wanted to kill them with a single blow and not give them any chance to escape. At this moment, the void shook and the earth trembled. The surging battle chi vanished in an instant. Puff! The two burly men spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Their faces were filled with horror. None of them expected that in such a short period of time, Qin Feiyang's strength had already reached such a level. Roar! Clang! The two of them activated their fighting souls without hesitation. One of their fighting souls was a huge black panther. Its body was covered in black flames and it exuded an extremely terrifying aura. The other person's fighting soul was a huge axe. It was dozens of feet long and looked as if it was cast from lava. Its entire body was covered in flames and its sharpness was shocking. Feiyang, we can't continue fighting here. The city will be destroyed. Wang Hong's face turned pale. This was the first time he had witnessed a battle between battle saints. What was even more unexpected was that the young and inexperienced fellow from back then had already become so strong. Chapter 1159. Hearing Wang Hong's roar, Qin Feiyang glanced at the trembling ground and raised his eyebrows. Bang! Following this, he waved his hand and his sacred aura swept across the sky, forcefully sweeping up the two burly men and the two battle souls and soaring into the sky. Die! The two burly men exchanged glances and suddenly let out a roar. The two battle souls carried a terrifying ferocious aura as they lunged at Qin Feiyang. You think you can kill me with your minions? Qin Feiyang let out a disdainful laugh and pointed his finger in the air. An invisible force instantly surged out. Ultimate destruction. Roar! Clang! The two war souls did not have any power to resist and were instantly annihilated. Too powerful. Every time he comes back from the outside, his strength will increase by a few times. Everyone was right, if this kid doesn't die, he will become a huge threat. The two burly men's eyes trembled and their faces were filled with fear. Huge threat? Qin Feiyang chuckled and said in a domineering manner, You're wrong, I'm not a huge threat to you. I'm a nightmare to all of you, including the Emperor and the Nation Master. Bang! After saying this, he pointed his index finger in the air and an invisible force surged like a giant python with its mouth wide open, swallowing the two men. Ah! Following two shrill cries of agony, the two burly men died on the spot, their blood splattering across the sky. What's going on? Such a terrifying shockwave. Who's causing trouble in the mansion of the Patriarch? Although the battle was brief, the people of the various districts were startled. Everyone stood in the sky above the city and glanced at the mansion of the Patriarch with the help of the hazy moonlight. Even the people of the various districts were startled, and the guards of the mansion were no exception. They all rushed toward the scene with a murderous aura. Phew! Meanwhile, seeing the two burly men being killed, Wang Hong let out a sigh of relief and yelled, The shockwave from the battle was caused by me sparring with an old friend, so please don't panic. Return to your posts and do what you're supposed to do. His voice echoed in the sky above the city like a bell. So it's the Manor Lord sparring with someone. You really gave me a fright. It's fine, it's fine. Let's disperse. Everyone suddenly understood. In the meantime, Qin Feiyang also withdrew his aura and landed in front of Wang Hong. He cupped his hands and said, It's not good to stay here for long. I'll take my leave first. Yes. Wang Hong nodded. Qin Feiyang opened a portal. However, at this moment, a terrifying pressure pounced over. Not only did it shatter the teleportation door, but it also firmly imprisoned Qin Feiyang and Wang Hong in the void. There's someone else? Qin Feiyong and Xueqi turned pale with fright. Sparring again. When the guards who had already retreated felt this majestic aura, their expressions were filled with helplessness. If you want to spar, you should do it outside the city. You're sparring in the mansion, and in the middle of the night. Isn't this torture? They thought that Wang Hong was sparring with his so-called old friend again, so they didn't take it to heart. At this very moment, whether it was Qin Feiyong or Wang Hong, they were all in a state of nervousness. Although this pressure was real, they couldn't find the owner of the pressure. You're really back. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded in a dark place. Dada. Following closely, accompanied by a series of steady footsteps, a middle-aged man in black armor slowly walked out of the darkness. Looking at the middle-aged man, Qin Feiyong felt an inexplicable fear in his heart. The middle-aged man's face was very unfamiliar, but his eyes were extremely familiar. The middle-aged man stopped in front of Qin Feiyong, his eyes full of hatred and resentment, and asked, "Do you know who I am?" Qin Feiyong's eyes flickered. The middle-aged man smiled sinisterly, took out a facial restoration pill and threw it into his mouth. At the same time, a divine aura emerged from his body. With a loud clang, the middle-aged man's armor shattered, revealing a white robe. Divine aura. It's actually divine aura. Qin Feiyong's body and mind trembled. He had already guessed the true identity of the person in front of him. At the same time, under the effect of the facial restoration pill, the middle-aged man's figure and appearance were constantly changing. Soon, an old man, a familiar face, appeared in Qin Feiyong's line of sight. Imperial Tutor. Qin Feiyong's face was pale. He never thought that the Imperial Tutor would be lying in ambush here. Wang Hong secretly said, "Feiyong, believe me, I didn't betray you. Don't worry, I never doubted you." Qin Feiyong comforted him. The Imperial Tutor glanced at Wang Hong, looked at Qin Feiyong, and laughed. "Are you very surprised?" Qin Feiyong was silent. Now he couldn't speak either. Because of the Imperial Tutor's pressure, he was firmly imprisoned. Even breathing was difficult, let alone speaking. "A few days ago, when I learned that the invincible Black Army guarding the Butterfly Valley were all killed, the first person I thought of was you. But I wasn't sure, so I disguised myself as an ordinary invincible Black Army soldier, and followed the commander of the invincible Black Army to the spiritual state to spy on Wang Hong. Although Wang Hong said that he had cut ties with you, I know that he is still loyal to you. If you really came back, you would definitely come to him sooner or later. Just as I expected you came." The Imperial Tutor laughed. Qin Feiyong's face was gloomy. This old man was indeed a cunning old fox. The Imperial Tutor continued, "I just heard you say that the new commander of the invincible Black Army was killed. I'm curious, other than you, who else would have the guts to do so?" Qin Feiyong looked at him gloomily. "Oh right, I forgot, you can't speak now." The Imperial Tutor laughed and slightly restrained his aura. Qin Feiyong's body became light, and he immediately gasped for breath. However, the Imperial Tutor was still worried. Qin Feiyong had too many tricks up his sleeves. If he was careless, he could escape. Therefore, he took Wang Hong hostage. He waved his hand, and Wang Hong flew to him uncontrollably. The Imperial Tutor looked at Qin Feiyong and laughed. "If you dare to play tricks, don't blame me for being merciless." Qin Feiyong took a deep breath and stared at the Imperial Tutor with a vicious expression. The Imperial Tutor didn't care at all and said lightly, "Now tell me, what kind of terrifying person dared to kill my men?" "Your men?" Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows. "That's right. That new commander of the invincible Black Army is a confidant that I trained." The Imperial Tutor said. Qin Feiyong said in a deep voice, "I didn't expect you to form a clique for your personal gain. What are you up to?" "I'm the one asking you questions." The Imperial Tutor grabbed Wang Hong's neck and said coldly. Qin Feiyong's face changed and he quickly shouted, "Stop!" "Then tell me quickly." The Imperial Tutor shouted. Qin Feiyong looked at Wang Hong and said, "You're the one who wants to know. Don't blame me if you regret it later. This person is Mu Tianyang." "What?" The Imperial Tutor's body trembled, and his old eyes were filled with shock. "Mu Tianyang?" Wang Hong's face was filled with suspicion, but he seemed to have thought of something, and his face suddenly changed. Are you regretting knowing the truth now? Qin Feiyong looked at the imperial tutor and sneered. Nonsense. Mu Tianyang was killed by the Qin Emperor 10,000 years ago. How could it be him? Chapter 1160. I knew you would say that. In fact, I don't want to believe it either, but it's the truth. Qin Feiyong said. Where's the evidence? The imperial preceptor said in a deep voice. Qin Feiyong said, there's no evidence. You can go to the ruins. Maybe you can find the result you want there. The imperial preceptor frowned. But suddenly, a trace of ridicule crawled up his old face and he said, do you think this old man will be fooled? Let me tell you, no matter what you say today, this old man will not believe it. Hand over Xueqi and the castle immediately. Qin Feiyong was not surprised. He had already expected such a result. But he could never hand over Xueqi and the castle. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed slightly, and he looked at the imperial preceptor and said, I want to see the emperor. His Majesty is not someone you can see just because you want to. The imperial preceptor sneered. Qin Feiyong said angrily, although you are the imperial preceptor, you are also a subject. Do you want to deceive the emperor? The imperial preceptor laughed and said, don't talk nonsense. This is a capital offense, and to be honest, it's not that this old man doesn't want to take you there, but that His Majesty doesn't want to see you. No. His Majesty wants to see him very much. Suddenly, a hoarse voice sounded. Before the voice died away, a white-haired old man descended on the attic. It was Elder Qin who took back the pagoda. There was also a man and a wolf standing beside Elder Qin. It was Wolf King and Yen Wei. What's going on? Seeing this, Qin Feiyong was very surprised. Why would Wolf King and Yen Wei be with Elder Qin? At the same time, seeing Elder Qin suddenly appear, the imperial preceptor's eyebrows flashed with a trace of hostility. Elder Qin glanced at Qin Feiyong and Wang Hong, then looked at the imperial preceptor and said lightly, Imperial preceptor, please let them go. You're lucky. The imperial preceptor glanced at Qin Feiyong, and a trace of killing intent flashed in his old eyes. Qin Feiyong stretched his muscles and pointed at Wang Hong. And him. The state preceptor snorted coldly. He deceived the emperor and abused his power for personal gain. His crimes are unforgivable. I will execute him on the spot as a warning to others. No. Qin Feiyong bellowed. However, it was too late. The Grand Tutor squeezed his hand and Wang Hong's throat and neck were broken on the spot. Bastard. Qin Feiyong glared and rushed over like a madman. Humph. State preceptor snorted and threw Wang Hong to Qin Feiyong as if he was throwing garbage. But at the same time, a strand of false god's power surged out from his palm and entered Wang Hong's psyche ocean, crushing Wang Hong's soul in an instant. Qin Feiyong rushed up and hugged Wang Hong. He squatted in the air and looked at Wang Hong's pale face. He anxiously shouted, Senior, wake up! However, Wang Hong was already dead. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come to find you. I'm the one who killed you. I'm sorry. Qin Feiyong tightly hugged the corpse that was gradually turning cold as he blamed himself in his heart. Above, Wolf King's eyes were also filled with killing intent and anger. Boom. All of a sudden, a monstrous killing intent rushed out from Qin Feiyong's body. A bloody kill word appeared between his eyebrows. He landed on the ground and placed Wang Hong on the ground. He looked up at old man Qin and questioned, The emperor ordered that no one is allowed to harm anyone related to me for 10 years. Now that state preceptor is doing this, isn't it the same as disobeying the emperor's order? Old man Qin raised his eyebrows and looked at the state preceptor. He then looked down at Qin Feiyong and said, His Majesty did say so. However, Wang Hong is a subject of the empire. He knew that you had returned but did not report it. This is a crime of deceiving the emperor. It is understandable that state preceptor will execute him on the spot. Qin Feiyong clenched his hands tightly. His nails had already sunk into his flesh and dragon blood dripped down. The state preceptor sneered. Wolf King said, Little Qin Zi, don't be impulsive. Yen Wei also secretly advised, Yes, revenge is a dish best served cold. Don't do anything stupid. Qin Feiyong was silent. His whole body was surrounded by blood. This was killing intent. But in the end, he loosened his hands and the kill word between his eyebrows gradually disappeared. He looked down at Wang Hong and whispered, "Senior, I won't let you die in vain." Hearing this, the state preceptor sneered. "Let's go," Old Man Qin urged. Qin Feiyong waved his hand. Accompanied by a loud noise, a deep pit appeared on the ground. Then he held Wang Hong and gently put him into the pit. Plop! Immediately, he knelt in front of Wang Hong and kowtowed 3 times. He said word by word, "If I don't avenge you, I, Qin Feiyong, am not a human." Hearing this oath, the smile on the state preceptor's face disappeared. In terms of strength, he was much stronger than Qin Feiyong. But looking at Qin Feiyong's eyes at this moment, he couldn't help but feel inexplicably flustered and afraid. Swish! Qin Feiyong stood up and buried Wang Hong. Then he flew to Old Man Qin and said, "Let's go." Old Man Qin nodded. He waved his hand and opened a portal. Then he turned around and led 2 people and 1 wolf into the portal. The state preceptor raised his eyebrows and followed in. Butterfly Valley. Beside the teleportation altar, a group of people appeared one after another. Old Man Qin raised his arm. Battle chi gushed out of his fingertips and flowed into the teleportation altar. Qin Feiyong looked at the teleportation altar and secretly asked Wolf King and Yen Wei, "Why is Old Man Qin here?" "We don't know either. He suddenly appeared in Butterfly Valley just now. We couldn't escape even if we wanted to, but it's a blessing in disguise. He saved your life." Wolf King and Yen Wei secretly transmitted their voices. They were both terrified. Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. It seemed that Old Man Qin had already begun to investigate the state preceptor. This was indeed a good thing for him. Bas! The teleportation altar finally opened. Old Man Qin said, "Let's go." Qin Feiyong waved his hand and sent Yen Wei and Wolf King to the ancient castle. Then, he stepped onto the teleportation altar alone. To this, Old Man Qin only frowned and didn't say anything. Pagoda. Qin Feiyong, Old Man Qin, and the state preceptor appeared one after another. Next, Qin Feiyong followed behind the 2 of them. Walking out of the pagoda, he scanned the familiar mountain range in front of him. Although stepping into the imperial capital was equivalent to entering a cage, at this moment, he was fearless. Old Man Qin turned to look at the state preceptor and smiled. State preceptor must be tired from running around in the spiritual state. It must be very tiring. Please go back and rest. Obviously. He was sending the state preceptor away. The state preceptor said indifferently, "Qin Feiyong is a felon. I must personally escort him to His Majesty." State preceptor is really considerate. Old Man Qin chuckled and opened the teleportation gate. He retreated to the side and stretched out his hand. "State preceptor, please." The state preceptor glanced at him coldly and stepped into the teleportation gate. Qin Feiyong was about to follow in. But suddenly, Old Man Qin grabbed him and shook his head. "This teleportation gate isn't the one that leads to Bright Sky Palace." Qin Feiyong was suspicious. "It's better to be wary of some people," Old Man Qin said meaningfully. He opened another teleportation gate and led Qin Feiyong in. Outside the imperial city, in the sky above a certain mountain, an old man in white appeared out of thin air. It was the state preceptor. Looking at the mountains and rivers below, the state preceptor was stunned. Wasn't he going to see His Majesty? Why was he here? Damn it! The next moment, he realized that he had been tricked and hurriedly turned around. As expected, there was no trace of Qin Feiyong and Old Man Qin. "Old dog Qin, how dare you trick me? I'm not done with you today." He was furious. He opened the teleportation gate again and rushed in like lightning. At the same time, Bright Sky Palace. This palace that was once destroyed by Qin Feiyong was not abandoned because of this. Instead, it was more glorious and imposing than before. In a pavilion, a child who looked like a porcelain doll was holding an ancient scroll and reciting a poem that he wasn't familiar with. Beside him, a middle-aged couple sat side by side, looking at the child with a gratified smile on their faces. Swish! Suddenly, the void shook and 2 figures appeared in the pavilion. It was Qin Feiyong and Old Man Qin. "Greetings, Your Majesty," Empress, and little prince. Old Man Qin bowed. That's right. The three people in the pavilion were the current emperor, empress, and little prince Qin Haotian. The arrival of Qin Feiyang and Old Man Qin also interrupted the little prince's recitation. He raised his head, revealing a childish face, looking at Qin Feiyang and Old Man Qin. Brother. At a glance he recognized Qin Feiyang. He immediately put down the ancient scroll in his hand and ran towards Qin Feiyang. Seeing this, the empress's expression changed. She hurriedly got up, hugged the little prince, and hid behind the emperor as if she had seen a devil. At the same time, the emperor also raised his head to look at Qin Feiyang, frowning slightly. Qin Feiyang said coldly, Old Man Qin, it seems that he doesn't want to see me. Old Man Qin smiled bitterly. His Majesty actually didn't know that you were coming. The reason why I said this is because I want to save you from the imperial preceptor. Save? Qin Feiyang sneered. The emperor waved to the empress and little prince. You guys go back first. The empress had been waiting for this sentence. As soon as she heard the emperor's words, she immediately carried the little prince and ran to the palace not far away. It was as if, in her eyes, Qin Feiyang was a demon that ate people without spitting out their bones. However, the little prince was a little unwilling. He kept shouting that he wanted to play with his brother. But the empress would definitely not listen to him. The scene when the little prince fell into Qin Feiyang's hands last time was still vivid in her mind. After entering the palace, she not only closed the door tightly, but also asked the guards outside to guard strictly, not allowing Qin Feiyang to take half a step in. The emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Even the mother of a country is so afraid of you. Do you feel a sense of accomplishment? I just feel sad. Qin Feiyang said lightly. You? The emperor asked. What's sad about me? The sad person I'm talking about is you. As the emperor of a country, you have a lot of wives and concubines, but in the end, only one son is going to send you off. Isn't that sad? Qin Feiyang sneered. The emperor frowned and snorted coldly. Even if I only have one son, I don't need you to pity him. Pity you? Ha ha, Qin Feiyang couldn't help laughing and said. You don't say. One day in the future, it may really be me who will send you off. His words were filled with a piercing coldness. What kind of person was the emperor? How could he not understand such words? Obviously. Chapter 1161. The emperor's face was as dark as water. Can't we sit down peacefully and have a good talk? He asked. That will never happen. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Old Man Qin couldn't help but sigh as he watched the father and son arguing with each other. The emperor also lost his patience and said, Then tell me, what is your purpose in coming to me? If it's for your mother, then don't say it. There's no room for negotiation. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed fiercely. I'm here to tell you that Mu Tianyang is back. What? The emperor's face changed. Old Man Qin was also surprised. He stared at Qin Feiyang and asked, Is this true? Qin Feiyang said, It's up to you to believe it or not. The emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and suddenly said, Shouldn't you hate me for what I did to you? Why are you here to tell me this news? Qin Feiyang said, I'm doing this for the people of the world, not for you. The people of the world. The emperor muttered to himself as if he was thinking of something in the past. There was a complicated expression in his eyes. After a while, the emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and shook his head. You're really like the ancestor. Unfortunately, you're not the ancestor. The ancestor he was talking about was the first emperor of the great Qin Empire, the Qin Emperor. The ancestor created a huge empire and left countless legends and miracles. Of course, I can't compare to the ancestor. But in this world, everyone has the right to talk about me except you. Do you understand? Qin Feiyang shouted in a stern voice. Old Man Qin frowned. No matter what, he's your father. You shouldn't talk about him like that. Father. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Is there a father who abandons his wife and son? No. Besides, I've already returned the bloodline power he gave me. What else can't I say? The emperor couldn't help but clench his fists. Obviously, he was furious. Life is like this. Once you take that step, you will never be able to turn back. Back then, when you crippled my cultivation and drove me out of the imperial capital, You should have known that such a day would come. Qin Feiyong said coldly. The emperor couldn't hold it in any longer and roared, "Lock him up in the prison immediately. Without my order, no one is allowed to visit him." Your Majesty. But at this moment, the imperial preceptor came in anger. He gloomily glanced at old man Qin, then looked at the emperor and bowed. Your Majesty, this child has become a great threat. We can't let him live any longer. I suggest that we execute him on the spot. The emperor clenched his fists and nodded. All right, execute him on the spot. Qin Feiyong shrugged. It was not the first or second time that the emperor had ordered him to be killed. He no longer cared. But since he didn't die the last time, he swore that no matter what difficulties he encountered in the future, he would try his best to survive. Therefore, he would not sit still and wait for death. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong's mind moved. He activated the concealment technique and turned around to use phantom steps. Without looking back, he escaped into the air. You think you'll be fine if you hide in the castle? The imperial preceptor sneered. His divine sense emerged and rushed towards the place where Qin Feiyong disappeared. And why isn't there? The imperial preceptor was dumbfounded. He thought that Qin Feiyong had hidden in the castle, but when he used his divine sense to scan, he didn't find the castle at all. No. Old man Qin and the emperor looked at each other. Old man Qin also immediately released his divine sense to search for the place where Qin Feiyong disappeared. A moment later his gaze trembled slightly. He raised his head to look at the emperor and shook his head. There really isn't. The emperor said, Impossible, everyone knows that the castle can't be moved. He must be here. Old man Qin was surprised. Could it be that his castle can be moved? Do you think that other than the castle, I don't have any other means to save my life? Today is different from the past. In these years in the Forgotten Continent, I've obtained far more than you can imagine. Just wait, the good show is yet to come. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong's cold voice came from afar. What? He's already escaped so far. The three of them hurriedly raised their heads and looked in the direction of the voice. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Not good. The direction of the voice is the throne room. The emperor's expression changed. Boom. Before he finished speaking, a deafening loud noise sounded in the throne room. This is only the interest. In the future, I'll make you pay back double. Qin Feiyong's voice sounded again. The emperor hurriedly rose into the air and swept over the throne room like lightning. Immediately, he was so angry that his whole body trembled. Below them, the originally dazzling throne room had already turned into a pile of ruins. The throne room was the place where every generation of emperor ascended the throne. It was the place where civil and military officials met the emperor. It was the most sacred place in the imperial palace. It could be said that the throne room represented the imperial power and the emperor's prestige. However, at this moment, Qin Feiyong actually destroyed the throne room in such a grand manner. This could no longer be described as offensive. This was blasphemy. This was rebellion. This was a challenge to the emperor's authority. Your Majesty, did you see that? This is Qin Feiyong's character. He doesn't care about his relatives and is ruthless. If we don't get rid of him as soon as possible, next time he will not only destroy the throne room, but the entire imperial palace, including you and me. The Grand Master rushed over and immediately roared when he saw this scene. Old Qin glanced at the Grand Master and lowered his head to scan the ruins below. His old face was full of displeasure. Boom! The next moment, two divine wills emerged, covering the sky and covering the earth in all directions. Your Majesty, what's going on? Who is so bold to destroy the throne room? Whoosh! Figures broke through the air and flew over. There were the commanders of the Kirin army. There were the deputy commanders of the Kirin army. There were the deputy commanders of the invincible Black Army. There were also the chief eunuch and the princesses and concubines. Looking at the throne room that had been razed to the ground, all of their faces were filled with bewilderment. Qin Feiyong. The Grand Master said each word with a murderous aura. It's him. Heard it. Everyone's face changed color. Even some timid people were so scared that their faces turned pale. Old Qin retracted his divine thoughts and looked at the emperor. Your Majesty, we can't find him. It seems that he has escaped. As long as he enters the imperial capital, he has nowhere to run. All deputy commanders, listen to my order. The emperor shouted. Yes, your majesty. Whether it was the deputy commanders of the Kirin army or the invincible Black Army, they all knelt in the void. The emperor said, track him down immediately. Even if you have to turn the imperial capital upside down, find him for me. It could be seen that this time, he was really angry. Yes, your majesty. The group of deputy commanders responded respectfully, then turned around and flew into the sky. Commander of the Kirin army. The emperor shouted again. Yes, your majesty. The commander of the Kirin army bowed and said, his mother is in the Violet Palace. He will definitely find a way to see her. Immediately go to the Violet Palace and guard it. As long as you see him, kill him without mercy. In addition, issue a bounty. Anyone who provides the whereabouts of Qin Feiyang will be rewarded with a sacred artifact and 3 chances to enter the Imperial Palace's martial arts treasury. And the one who takes the head of Qin Feiyang will be conferred the title of Marquis. The emperor shouted angrily. His voice was like thunder, piercing through the clouds. Conferred the title of Marquis. The commander of the Kirin army trembled both physically and mentally. Since the establishment of the Great Qin Empire, other than the 100 Marquis that were personally conferred by the first emperor, there had never been a new Marquis. Of course, the successive emperors also had the idea of conferring the title of Marquis. But the successive emperors also had concerns. And this concern was the current 100 Marquis. If others were to be conferred the title of Marquis, then the current 100 Marquis would definitely have objections. After all, the ancestors of these Marquis were the founding fathers who followed the first emperor to conquer the world. In other words, they were all descendants of meritorious officials. If others were to be on equal footing with them, they would not be happy. So after 10,000 years, there had never been a new Marquis. But who would have thought that at this moment, in order to hunt down Qin Feiyang, the emperor would actually issue such a decree? This was enough to show that the emperor was not joking this time. He was going to be serious. Seeing the commander of the Kirin army not moving, the emperor angrily shouted, "What are you standing there for? Hurry up and go!" The commander of the Kirin army knelt in the air and shouted, "Your Majesty, the title of Marquis is not a small matter. Your Majesty, please reconsider." The emperor said, "I have made up my mind." Your Majesty. The commander of the Kirin army still wanted to say something. The emperor was furious and shouted, "Do you want to defy the decree? This subordinate does not dare. This subordinate will go now." The commander of the Kirin army's eyes trembled. He quickly got up and opened the portal to leave. When the portal disappeared, the emperor looked at the horizon and said, "If I don't kill you, where will my dignity go?" After that, he flicked his sleeves and left. "Little bastard, let's see how you escape this time." The imperial tutor laughed in his heart. This was exactly the result he wanted. Beside him, Elder Qin stared at the emperor's back and remained silent. However, if one looked closely, they would find that his eyes were fixed on the imperial tutor. There was a strange light in the depths of his eyes. What? Qin Feiyang is back again? And he destroyed the throne room? He's too audacious. Soon, the news of Qin Feiyang's return was like a plague, spreading to every corner of the imperial city. Everyone was shocked. Why is this child so stupid? Purple Flower Palace. Qin Feiyang's mother also received the news immediately. She was so anxious that she could not sit still. "Mother, don't worry. Heaven helps the worthy." That's right. His Highness is no longer the child he used to be. Since he dares to come back, he must be confident. The 2 maids consoled her from the side. However, even though they said that, they themselves were filled with worry. Destroying the throne room was tantamount to directly challenging the emperor's authority. This was a serious crime that could lead to the extermination of 9 generations. Why did His Highness do such a stupid thing? Ran Wushuang, the old master, Dong Zhengyang, Shen Mei, and others were also worried about Qin Feiyang. Facing the full pursuit of the Kirin army and the invincible Black Army, facing the fatal temptation of being conferred the title of Marquis, would Qin Feiyang really have a way out? Haha. However, in a certain alchemy room in the Divine Palace, a man in white was laughing. Yes. This is the Qin Feiyang I know. Continue. I look forward to your performance. I also believe that you will definitely give me a bigger surprise. Haha. This man was Lu Xingchen. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.